Did you know how powerful one friend at work can be? To our organization, absolutely. To our lives, for sure. And this ripples out in so many big ways when we're looking at loneliness numbers climbing around the world. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually see those numbers decrease because we're impacting and connecting people in our workplaces? Having friends is the #1 factor for our health and for our happiness across the board. When we ask those who feel socially connected and fulfilled, 99% of them include having meaningful relationships at work. We want to be in it together. We want to be seen where it matters the most, where we're making our biggest contribution and where we're spending most of our time. The Business of Friendship is the book I have always wanted to write because this is the book that will help individuals and organizations talk about how we can teach and train and empower and encourage and model healthy relationships at work. Yay! Thank you all so much for joining me at my book launch party. The dream was originally to fly around the country and be able to see so many of you in person and to be able to give hugs and sign books and make eye contact and all that good stuff. But we pivoted and you all showed up here and it means so much. We're going to record the whole thing. If you're not able to join us all night long, we understand. And by all night long, I mean 3 hours. That makes 3 hours sound almost a little short and doable. But we know that there's other really big, important, special things happening tonight too. And so we totally understand if you need to go and come back and watch this another time, it will be available on my Facebook stream for a long time. So I want to give you a little bit of a lay of the land of what's coming over these 3-hour party. And I want to share with you some of the big giveaways we're doing and some of the games and everything. But before that, I just want to start with the story, the origin of this book, of showing up in this space and in this time, in this moment. It's kind of a crazy moment for those of you who have authored books or dreamed big dreams or had those things that take a little while to achieve them. I wrote my first book in 2013, Friendships Don't Just Happen. And it was the book that was highlighting how so many of us needed to make new friends. And so we were out there needing to figure out, how do we do this as adults when we're not all kids going to the same school or sleeping in the same cabin at summer camp? And so that was the book on how to make friends. But then as I was out talking about that book and doing more research and interacting with so many of you, it really started landing on my heart. Now, for so many of us, our loneliness isn't because we don't know enough people. It's because we don't feel enough intimacy with the people that we already know. For so many of us, I started realizing that it's not that we need to go meet new friends, that when we're lonely, the answer isn't just automatically, you need new friends or you need to go meet more people, you need more interaction. But for so many of us, we just wanted the interactions we already have to be more meaningful. And so I wrote Frientimacy, How to Deepen Friendships for Lifelong Health and Happiness. And that was published, I think, in 2016. We're testing the history here. And then as I was out talking about that book, and I'll teach a little bit tonight about what the 3 relationship requirements are, that when we look at all the studies that study emotional health and relational health, and when we want social health, what are the things that we're measuring and evaluating? And so I was sharing so much from that book. And one of the 3 requirements is consistency, consistent shared experiences. Consistent interaction. It's the hours we log. If we don't ever interact, we can't do the other 2 requirements of relationship. We have to actually interact. We have to have a relationship. We have to have time together in order for us to do the 2 other things, which I will talk about a little bit later. But that consistency matters so much. And when I was out speaking and I would ask people, which of these 3 requirements is the hardest one for you or would make the biggest difference in the relationships in your life? Without a doubt, almost every audience raised their hand on consistency. Finding the time to actually spend with the people we want to spend with when we feel so busy, when we feel like we don't even have time to spend with our family and we're not even making the time to do our errands and our exercise and we feel like we're falling behind in everything and our lives feel so busy. The idea of somebody coming along and saying, spend more time with your friends was not a welcome idea in the sense of we all want it. We're long for it. We're wired for it. And yet it's not an easy thing to just be like, okay, I'll just make more time. And I realized over and over that when we're looking at our loneliness numbers, and I've got a guest, my first guest is going to come in and shed more light on these loneliness numbers. I'm super excited about all the research that's backing up what I've been seeing and experiencing for such a long time. And so in a moment, we're going to look a little bit deeper at that. But when we're looking at this loneliness, the prevalence, and how common it is and how big of a deal it is in our culture, I was like, talking people into one more guys trip a year or one more phone call a week is not going to be enough to turn this loneliness ship around. And that's when the beginnings of my hunger for the business of friendship started really emerging, where we started looking at saying, if we don't have time to add more interaction to friendships in a meaningful way, then what if we added friendships where we're already spending so much of our time? Kind of like when we were kids. School was to kids as work is to us as adults. And so thus I started really looking into really wanting to talk about how do we make better friendships at work. And the research of how much it does for us is mind-boggling. I will talk about that in a moment. But the research of how much it impacts and improves and helps the organizations is huge. And so I want to ask you to introduce yourself in the chat and engage. I want lots of engagement tonight. You can't leave me hanging here by myself. I've got my kombucha, my lip gloss, and a water bottle, and I'm in for the 3-hour marathon. And you may not be in for all 3 hours, but when you're in, I want to see some engagement. And so my first question is, and I should note we're going to pick a winner from whoever answers this question, so a little more incentive. The first question is, tell us what industry you're in, or job or role, whichever one feels most comfortable to you. And I want you to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, how conducive do you feel that industry is to building friendships? So a 10 is most conducive, like they are all about it. This is a super easy industry or a super easy role for building relationships, or a 1 would be not conducive at all, like actually probably opposed to us building those healthy relationships. And so you're saying, okay, I'm a lawyer. Is that conducive to friendship or not? Or, okay, I'm a hairstylist. And so share with us your job or your industry and how conducive is it to friendship, with 10 being the most conducive and 1 being the least conducive. Because it's really important for our organizations to actually care about this subject, but so many of them aren't. And this is wonderful. We've got Olaf saying media, 2 to 3. So yeah, that would match up to a lot of the research, your experience, that kind of having that down there. We've got Janelle saying real estate is a 10. That's fabulous. I'd be curious to know if that's a lot of others. Oh, we've got a 9 for direct sales and mommy CEO, Denise. Wonderful. We've got Director of Mission and Healthcare, 8 or 9. David, that's awesome. These are great numbers. These are good. And so this is fabulous to see so many high numbers coming through. We've got technology, Emily at 6. So we've got a nanny. Yes, very isolating. Yeah, it's interesting. Education and anything with like being a care provider or a teacher or anything like that. It's interesting because you're interacting all day long, but not necessarily in a meaningful adult way, Janelle. That makes complete sense. Nick, welcome. It's aerospace was a 3. You've got aerospace is a 3 and consulting is an 8. So that's good that you have both of those there. And social work, 8, that would generally be high too. So that's great. Keep putting those in there for us, and we'll keep seeing some of those. It helps us to just know we're not alone. When our industries, it's not like we're all scoring 10 and that our industry is the only one that's not a 10. So super important that we be able to see all of that. And so we'll pick a winner from that in just a moment. What I want to highlight now is where we're going for these 3 hours, what I envision, what I want to share with you, who I want to introduce you to. And so I'm going to break it down into 3 separate hours. And the first hour is what I'm calling the what inspired me to write this book. Like, what are the themes and the topics that really motivated me, that are kind of my mission, if you will. And so I'm bringing in guests that help highlight the challenge and the problem, and also guests that really illustrate and showcase the solution. And they're featured on my book. So I'll be able to be like, on page such and such, these are the people, you're going to meet them now and read about them later. So that'll be super fun. And we've got one of my own girlfriends coming in to do some interviewing of me. One of the things a lot of you asked for was wanting to ask me questions and learn a little bit more about book writing and about my life. And so I'm going to be bringing in people that will help you get to know me. I guess that's the best way, is through friends. The second hour, so if the first hour is kind of the why, then the second hour is all about the how. And this is the hour where I am bringing in the people who I feel like really illustrate what I teach in this book. Like, I've got a COO of a company, he's got 34 offices, and he's coming in to talk about why he does friendship training. We've got an HR director coming in and saying, wow, this is a huge thing that you're tracking in your organization and paying attention to. We've got leaders coming in and talking about their friendships. We've got a diversity and inclusion expert coming in. So it'll be really fun to just tell stories about how we do this and why we do this. And so we're going to do real life practical stories, which is super fabulous. And I'm also going to give away free signed book plates in the second hour for everybody who's with us in that hour. So I'll be able to personalize and sign a fun little book plate for you and get that off in the mail to you to stick inside the cover. And then the third hour is all about the who. Who's inspired me in the book writing process? Who are some of my work friends? I kind of put at the end of this marathon the treats for me, which is bringing on all my friends. Not all of them, but several of them. Some of the work friends who have inspired me, and a group of my friends who, they said they wanted to play a Who Knows Shasta Best quiz. So my husband is coming in and quizzing them. and we'll learn a little bit more about Shasta through their eyes. And we'll end this night with my husband coming in and giving a toast, because every book I've ever launched, that's how I've done my book launch party, is with my husband. Usually we're in a circle with everybody else, and but we will just be in a virtual circle, and my husband Greg will toast us off. So make sure you've got a drink ready to toast at the end, and we're looking forward to party there. I want to talk in a moment about some of the prizes that are coming up tonight. But before, I want to introduce you to the two people who are behind the scenes and will be popping in. And these are people who will be helping give out those prizes. And so I'm going to actually invite Kristen and Phil to pop on screen with me. Oh, we've got a picture over Kristen's face. Kristen, where are you, babe? You were like a surprise release where we're like, what does she look like?
Just a pause.
Just popped in.
These two are, Phil is running all the graphics and the kind of the bringing people in and out for us. Kristen's been overseeing my entire launch team all summer, and has been, both of them are people who are leaving me feeling so supported tonight. Kristen, do you have a winner that we can give our very first book to? We are going to announce a winner based on who you picked randomly from the comments of somebody.
I did randomly pick from the aerospace engineering field is Nick Skytland.
Yay!
Congratulations, Nick.
Awesome. So if you win a book tonight, you'll just want to make sure you instant message with Kristen. She'll reach out to you, and we want to know who you want me to sign the book to and where I can send that book to. And we're excited to get that book to you. So congratulations, Nick. And Phil and Kristen, thank you so much for everything you're going to do. Any words either of you want to say as we get this party started?
If you don't play, you can't have any fun, and you can't make any friends. So play. Leave us comments. We'll bring them on as we can, and you got lots of cool stuff you can win. It's going to be a wild 3 hours.
Great
Awesome.
to see everyone. So glad you're here.
Fabulous. Thank you both so much. So you'll have their beautiful faces in your memory whenever I refer to Phil and Kristen. That's awesome. So we just gave away our first book to Nick, and I've got a whole pile of books back here to give away. And these are my, I held up that I have 3 books, but this is actually my first hardcover. It's actually also my first audiobook that I got to record. And so that was pretty fun. That comes out tomorrow as well. This becomes officially available tomorrow. And this is my first book in the business section, which is really cool. And I feel like that's where we can make the biggest dent and where we can kind of move this mission forward. As a side note, it's also where men are more likely to read this book. And I have a really big heart for men's friendships. We live in a culture that has kind of treated friendship like a women's issue. And it's not that. It's a human need. And we've done them a really big disservice. So I'm excited to get this book in the hands of co-ed and in the business world where we spend most of our time. So I'm going to be giving away books all throughout the evening. It's almost always going to be based on your interaction and in your comments. And we're seeing your comments come in from YouTube and from Facebook. So feel free to keep those coming. We can see them all, and we will give gifts away. Sometimes you'll know ahead of time and sometimes you won't. So just engage with us as much as you're able to. I'm going to be giving those books away. The other thing I mentioned is in the second half, I'm going to be giving away signed book plates to everybody. I'm torn on whether I want a lot of you on with me or not. My hand might be kind of regretting that tomorrow, but I'm just going to mail those to everybody who is with us in the second half there. And then the other thing that we're going to do tonight is I am going to pop in 5 different words throughout the evening. It will be very obvious. I will say our first word is, and I'll be doing that in just a moment. And if you are joining us or think you might be joining us for the all 3 hours, you will want to write down those words, because we will give you a form. And if you go put the 5 right words in at the end, I am gifting everybody who gives us all 5 words. And I should note that I'm going to be gifting everybody for 72 hours. So even if you aren't able to watch the whole live stream tonight, if you have to do it in portions, then you have 72 hours to watch the live stream through, collect all 5 words like a little scavenger hunt, and submit those 5 words. And I'm giving everybody all the free classes you want at the Friendship University. I'm so used to saying the business of friendship. At thefriendshipuniversity.com. I have over $600 worth of classes on there on emotional intelligence, on friendships, on how to create safer friendships, on how to create meaningful events, on how to deal with your inner critic. I mean, there's so many things over there. $600 worth of classes, and you'll have free access to all of them through the end of 2020. So everybody who collects all 5 words will get free access to all of those classes. So feel free to start kind of writing down those 5 words. And we're not trying to trick you. They'll be easy and obvious, but you'll just want to collect those. And at the end, make sure that you've got them. And Kristen's also collecting questions that come in. If I miss them while I'm talking, then she's collecting questions, and I will be doing some live Q&A. So if you have questions for me about the book, about book writing process, or about me, or whatever, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can get. And Michelle, yes, is the one who designed those amazing book plates, and they are absolutely beautiful. They're very fun. She made it look like a text chat chain where it looks like you and I are texting each other. So it's really cute. So that'll be fun to do to get together in the second hour. All right, I think that we have covered almost everything I wanted to do logistics-wise. So without further ado, I see my very first guest in the waiting room. And this guest is somebody that I am so excited to be bringing on, Paul Montanari. Join me, please, my friend. As I always say when I stand up on stage, I say, who doesn't want to talk about loneliness? Yay! I mean, such a crowd favorite topic. So I'm starting my party off with such a fun topic. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. So Paul is the COO of Cigna, which most of us know as an insurance company, and they have been at the forefront. I have been so impressed for the last number of years on investing in and publishing and tracking research on loneliness. And I have been a nerd over their research over the last couple of years, because for years I've been like, there's a lot of loneliness going around, and people, like, I know the antidotes and the feelings and the stories, but to have the numbers, it has been so big. So Paul, I would love for you to share with us why Cigna kind of got into this and how you got roped into it and your role in it. I'm just super intrigued.
Yeah, well, that's the funny part, Shasta. I mean, when you and I met, it was talking about loneliness at an HR conference. And when I was first approached to even present on it, I was thinking at first of all the topics, to be known for, to present about, loneliness isn't the thing that usually people, want to attach themselves with. But, you bring it back to who Cigna is. Cigna truly cares about the health, well-being, and peace of mind of those we serve, right? So there's this very altruistic point of view. And when we say the people we serve, we don't refer to just those that have Cigna insurance. We're talking about the people in the communities where we serve. And so you can look at loneliness from one point of view, as in, what does it do to medical cost? That's not why Cigna started this. That's not why I'm interested in it. That's not why I work on friendship at work to combat loneliness. It's not about the medical cost. Yes, there are hard costs to it. There are medical cost impacts. There are productivity impacts, attrition, loss of productivity and loss of revenue. Those are all the sort of hard business numbers you want to throw at it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, what can we do as a company? What can we do as business leaders to impact the epidemic of loneliness? Because it truly is an epidemic. Everywhere you go, people are dealing with it, whether you see it on their faces or not. And for me, that's the first part, is stopping to even see the issue.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you guys are doing that. I truly do. It does. And you already just made my job so much easier, naming so many of the costs that come with it. I wanted to do a quiz real quick with everybody. I'm not going to quiz you on the research, but I want to do a quiz with everybody else. And this is your chance to win a second book, everybody. We're going to put a question up there and you answer A, B, C, or D. Who is the least likely, do you think, to be lonely at work? And the answers are A, ages 20 to 35, B, people of color, C, senior leaders, or D, women. So of all those options, which one do you think is the least likely to be lonely at work? Cigna not only is showing us all of the health costs to us with this, but they did some really great work on workplace studies too, and workplace loneliness. So let's see some of those votes come in. Who do you think is the least likely to be lonely at work? We've got a couple people with C, we've got an A, we've got a D, we've got an A, we've got an A. So keep coming in with those and we'll give you the answer on that in just a second. But yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to be the loneliness person. Although, as I do want to define loneliness a little bit, and you guys did use the UCLA loneliness scale, which is what I would consider the gold plate, kind of the gold standard for all of the, all the questions, because loneliness is a subjective thing that we're looking at. Yeah, how do you define it in a nutshell?
For me, again, when we talk about it, it's the feeling of not being supported, not being seen, not being known. And then the impacts to that, right? Not having a support system to handle stress, not having an outlet in how to deal with things. So loneliness, again, whether you're looking at the surveys, the statistics, or for all of us at work talking to our employees, it's that lack of a human connection to support you with whatever it is that you're going through, people truly seeing who you are.
Yeah, when you define it that way, it's so helpful, because I think a lot of us have this stereotype of loneliness as, somebody who has no friends or no social skills, or this isolated hermit up in the mountains and who hasn't seen any, human being for 10 years. And it's a really important thing for us to all remember that loneliness is something we all feel on a regular basis. It's much like feeling hunger when you need food. It's your body telling you that you need connection and that you need more support in your life, or that something in your life needs to be seen and needs to be witnessed. And so super, super beautiful to just keep changing the stigma and changing the definition of this, which is beautiful work that you're doing. So I want to share some of the loneliness statistics and ask you, Paul, what jumps out at you that I was shared in my book that jumped out at me from your research with Cigna. It said about 40% of us don't feel like we have close personal relationships with other people. That's a really high number.
Very high.
More than 50% of us feel alone or left out often. Nearly 60% of us don't feel like anyone knows us well. Kind of more extreme, about a quarter of us report that we rarely or never feel close to anyone and believe that no one understands us. Yeah, I don't know if something there jumps out at you or something else that you want to kind of highlight before we give the answer to that question. But when you looked at all this and kind of took it in, did it surprise you? What really jumped out at you? How did it land?
Yeah, the sad part, Shasta, is it doesn't surprise me. And I think that's why, personally in my career, whether Cigna was doing the research or not, it's something that I've cared about, the statistic about people not knowing me. The story I tell in my own experience, I've been at Cigna for 13 years. I took a new role about 4 years ago, and I sent out an email, right? This is me. I'm authentic. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to tell you who I am. And it said at the top, hi, my name is Paul. I was the new senior leader. And I give a little bit about my family, my personal beliefs, my work beliefs, and just sort of my life motto. and I sent it out to the entire team. I had one of my direct reports, a senior leader, that wrote back and said, "Is this fake? Do I respond to it? Why are you telling me about yourself?" I had a frontline employee want to submit it to the Cigna spam filter.
Oh,
They
wow.
thought it was an external spam. The point being, why would somebody share themselves with me? And why? And at the end of it, I said, "Please reply back and tell me about you." And the response was, "Why do you want to know about me?" There's this belief in business that you're not supposed to have human connection. So again, when I see that statistic, it doesn't surprise me.
Oh, that's so tragic. And yeah, and your modeling of it shows why we need to be modeling that from senior level positions, because that would be a really harder thing to do if you didn't have that kind of leverage with you.
Yep.
So, Kristen, I wanted to ask you what was the most common answer that came in from the quiz, and who are we giving the book to from who has the correct answer?
Yes, congratulations, Heather Wind Mulder, on your free book.
Yay!
She got it right. Answer
Awesome.
D.
Answer D was women. Did most people get that, or what did most people guess was the right answer?
It was kind of all over the place, actually. Only a couple people got guess D.
All right. Well, women, it does surprise everyone, because we often think women are the ones expressing it the most, or who need it the most. But thank you so much, Kristen. We'll make sure that we get a gift to Heather. Congratulations. Yeah, anything you want to say on that, Paul? So ages 20 to 35 are scoring pretty lonely. People of color and senior leaders all were answers where they're lonelier than average. Like they were higher loneliness than the average number when you looked at the workplace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In the part, for everybody, when you see this research and you hear the statistics, just for a reminder, the statistics is the what, not the why, right? So you can say whether it's people will apply bias and say, well, young people are lonely because they're on social media and they don't have human connections. Well, that's an assumptive position about that. You can say, you can put your beliefs wherever you think they are. What I like to do is tell people, if these are the statistics, that's what's real. Go talk to them, build the relationships, understand. I do leadership presentations here, and I hear from leaders quite often. I can't be myself in front of other leaders or in front of my employees. The belief is that leaders are supposed to be infallible. Yeah. We don't make mistakes. We don't get nervous. And so when you do that, you create a shield. So then, of course, you feel that people don't know you because you're not letting them. Again, and you can play that through each of those groups. There's a why, but to have the why, you have to ask the question and talk to them.
I love that. We're going to talk a lot about leadership in the second hour, and was my favorite chapter. The one I'm most proud of in my book, or one of the two, is on leadership. I have kind of what I would call a more controversial view than some will say, but it's to your point. I don't think it's okay that we just say it's lonely at the top and kind of expect that and allow that to be our norm. So I appreciate your modeling of that. Did you change anything after the research, or as you that you do differently as COO in either throughout Cigna completely, or even just in your own people who direct report to you?
I have, me personally, I have tried to be consistent. So, a big focus on your book, right? One of the 3 pillars is consistency. That's been my motto for years. I had an employee a bunch of roles ago, first town hall, and she pinged me afterwards. I'd never met her. She instant messaged me, and she said, "I can tell you're real. It felt like you." And to me, that was the greatest compliment ever. And I sort of vowed that day, Dana Chalker was the one that said it to me, that I will never let that go. No matter what my role is, no matter what my organization is, no matter who I'm talking to, this is me. This is who I am. And so do I get put in positions where it's harder to share the who? Yeah. Absolutely. Does it make it less important? Absolutely not. And so I think it just gives me a different platform to talk to more people, to model vulnerability, authenticity, positivity, consistency. every step of the way. Not that I'm plugging your book, Shasta, but I do.
I was gonna say, okay, I'll tell you what the second requirement of all relationships is. It's vulnerability, and Paul is modeling it perfectly. It's one thing for us to interact a lot together at work, but we actually need to get to know each other, and to get to know each other, we have to disclose, and we have to be willing to be seen, and we have to be willing to show up, and there's a lot of other things too. But yeah, that's a beautiful, and then you did name, and we'll get back to this, positivity is the third. And so it needs to feel good, and we need to keep practicing that consistently and do that. And that's a really beautiful, beautiful modeling of that. I could talk to you all day, and I might need to just pull you back into something else sometime. But before we go, do you have a work friend right now that you want to call out and thank, and anybody that you feel like you would say that they make your job better, you feel supported by them, and you feel close to them?
Yeah, I gotta do a little crew, because it wouldn't be fair.
Okay.
And so I think this is what's important. So, and I know some of them are watching right now. Becca,
Awesome.
Steve, Paul, John, different layers, different relationships over time that have developed a true friendship that support each other. And not that I want everybody knowing this, but when COVID happened and we're no longer traveling and we're not in the same office, we're in different cities, we made sure every single Wednesday, now it's Thursday, we're going to get together and we're just going to talk. Because again, you can lose that connection. You're not on an airplane. You're not in a conference room talking after the meeting. So we make sure we get together to ensure that we don't let the consistency of our friendship fail. And I think, again, for Becca, for Steve, for John, for Paul, and my weekly crew, they're the people I rely on. They're the people that I'm not always consistent with. I try to be. Shasta, it's one of those things you got to work on. But that's the group that. And
it sounds like you are. Yeah, no, that's a great example. And I'm glad you told everyone that, because that's one of the things I'm being asked a lot by the media now is what can we do while we're all working remote? And I'm just like, we've figured out the productivity piece by being like the consistency piece with technology and our relationships, but we are not figuring out how to actually be share ourselves during that time. And so to get together and just be talking is super duper important. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope to interact with you and continue to lift up your work. And thank you for all the good work you guys are doing and shining a spotlight on a really, really big issue. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Shasta. Really appreciate the opportunity. Congratulations on the book. And thank you, because you've now given me something else to share with my people, my employees, and my friends. And I will continue to pass on your book. I already told one of my new mentees, I'm giving her a copy of the book because there's great stuff to learn in there.
Gold stars for you. Thank you so much. And we'll reconnect. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for coming on.
You too, Shasta.
Oh, I am really, really impressed with any company that's like just investing in starting to help give numbers and to do all this. So right now, before coronavirus, their research was showing that 61% of us feel lonely on a pretty regular basis. That's 61% of us that need to do a better job of feeling the feeling inside of us. Not labeling it boredom or something else that we kind of are prone to say, oh, I feel anxious or I feel depressed. And that stuff might be mixed in there, but it's with loneliness. And so to be able to realize that that's what we're feeling is a desire for more connection is so, so, so important. So that's kind of like what motivates me. When I'm driven by saying, I really don't like the idea of most of us feeling disconnected. Like that has driven my entire career of saying that is not okay. And what I really want is the mission moving us forward to closer relationships. What I want is frientimacy. What I want are more people feeling connected. And so we highlighted the problem there. And now you're seeing Rebecca, Becky, and Maria pop in as they are such a great example of like what I want for all of us. If I could just wave a magic wand and give Becky and Maria what they have and bottle it up and give it to everybody, I would. So huge, huge welcome. Becky does a lot of consulting on workplace innovation, and Maria does a lot in the workplace around empathy. She has a book that I'm going to highlight here in a moment and a new podcast coming out tomorrow, and is a speaker and a consultant with branding and with empathy. So I just want to say thank you to both of you. You met 20 years ago?
Oh my gosh, you're gonna put that
more than that. Yeah.
You're gonna do that?
Yeah. We met right out of college.
1994.
94.
February 21st, 1994.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. And did you know right away that you were going to be friends, or is that something that kind of happened along the way? And your answers can be different. You can each answer.
You go first.
Sorry, I like the banner that says they met in 1994 with an exclamation point. Like, that's archaic.
We are old.
I know,
No,
totally.
if most of us could have the kind of relationships where we say we've known each other forever, that would feel amazing.
I know,
So-
totally. Yeah. With abacuses. Yes, exactly.
So,
Becky, you want to take this one?
yes, because it's such a cute story about you, and it's why I knew we were going to be friends literally from the moment I locked eyes with you across the room. So we met because we started at Anderson Consulting together, which is now Accenture. And the way that Anderson did at the time, who knows if it's still however many years later they're doing it, was they would invite anybody that you'd get a start date, and anybody that was starting at that time, no matter what group you were going to work in. So we were in change management. You all started at the same time, and then you went through a 6-week basically orientation together. So it was 3 weeks in the office and then 3 weeks in their campus, learning everything to know about our job. Which
It was like a little pledge class. They kind of put you in no
like
matter what department you were consulting in. Yeah.
so we get there.
I love that. I wish every organization would do that, because
It was
it's kind
actually
of like
great.
putting you together in a pod where you're practicing consistency, vulnerability, and positivity. So
It
that's
was-
a brilliant start.
It is absolutely brilliant. I mean, a lot more organizations are doing this kind of model of, boot camp to start with, to get people in and comfortable and really know themselves. But it was brilliant. We moved from college to a whole new pledge class, right? And group of friends. And it was really great. But the thing that stood out for me about Maria, and it's why I will always love her.
Totally sharing this.
Literally, I see her across the room, and she's doing this this motion. She's like making a motion to me and this other woman. Like, what is she doing? And she's going like this, and I'm like, what? And what she was trying to express was that the three of us were in the subgroup change management, like that
Together. Like we're together.
Yeah, like.
Which, if she had audio, totally would have made sense. Like, we're all together. Because it was there was 25 people or something in that group.
Yeah.
So it was like the three of us were in the same group, which, by the way, we are also still really good friends with that third.
With her as well.
Mary.
I feel like she should be here.
I know, she's a tripod. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Maria was basically
So,
like, I see you and you're mine.
I know. I was like, she's fun.
I'm like, okay, we're done.
That's awesome. But you guys actually only worked together for how long? Like at the same place?
You take it.
Well, so it's weird because when you're in a large management consulting firm, you have this start group, but then you all get sent to different projects. And so you may never actually work with that person. Again, you might be in the same sort of home base.
Yeah, okay.
Luckily, Becky and I got staffed on the same project right out of orientation period. So we were commuting down to Bloomington, Illinois. I don't even remember.
Illinois.
We were living there during the week, Monday through Friday, in a hotel for months after that. So that progressed our friendship even more. And also because we were living in Chicago, Becky's from that area, but I had never lived in Chicago before. So even in the time period that we were in orientation, we were all going out together. We were all going to happy hours and going out on the weekends and whatever. So then that just even further solidified it. So we were on that project together for quite a few months. And then that solidified our friendship. We dispersed to kind of other projects after that, but then we eventually became roommates. So
Okay, that would help.
Yeah. So that
That would
helped
help.
for consistency. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But then one of you left Anderson, and so your whole time at Anderson was really only,
It's like,
Weird.
well, we left Chicago.
okay.
Becky transferred to the San Francisco office and I transferred to the DC office. So we were
Okay.
literally on other coasts.
Okay.
And so that was probably 2.5 years in after meeting
Okay.
each other.
Because one of the things that I love about your story, and so many best friends are this way, is that work is, and I think this is hard for so many of us to actually, so many people are against workplace friendships, and yet work is the number one place we're making friends as adults. So it's childhood, then it's high school, then it's college, and then as adults. And once you're out of school and grown up, work is the number one place. And yet we all have these hesitations about it. And then I think what's so interesting is that that's the number one place we're making friends.
Right.
It's also the number one place where we lose the most friends, because usually what happens is once we move or change jobs, we end up losing that friendship with that move or with that change in job. And so one of my favorite chapters, it was actually the first chapter I wrote when I had to sit down and start this book. I was so kind of overwhelmed getting started with it that I was like, what would be the easiest chapter for me to write? Like, where could I start? And I was like, the easiest one for me would be like how to maintain a friendship after you leave the job. And so that's the first one I wrote. And that's the chapter that features the two of you in it.
Yeah.
And so what's so cool is that you invested 2 years at the same company, but you've benefited from 20 years of a friendship together. And I would love, Becky, Maria calls you, I interviewed her for the book, and she calls you the glue that helped make that change happen. Like, what I would love to hear from your perspective, like a little bit about what you feel like made the biggest difference to like why there's so many people you've worked with that you've been friends with over the years that you're not still that close to. What made the difference?
You know, it's interesting. I think one of the great things about being a consultant is you actually, that happens all the time. You're kind of getting a new job every 6 months, and you're working in these intense environments with people, and you're getting to know them really well, really quickly. You're probably living with them either in a hotel or even in like a complex, and then you like break up. It's like the project team
exactly
gets broken up and you all go to your next one. So there's something about consulting that I think, I'm looking at Maria, like I think that like you kind of had to learn like, okay, these two are keepers. Like I'm taking them with me on the next journey, right? Yeah. Like these two are keepers. I'm taking them with me on the next journey, and be really intentional about it.
Yeah.
And you know that you talk about that, Shasta, is like how do you be very specific and intentional? So, I mean, first and foremost, I think that I'm attracted to people that, like me, you don't have to have that, like you talk about consistency, but that doesn't mean frequency. Like you don't like, I didn't need to hear from Maria every minute. I didn't need to be like, okay, like we like she hasn't.
Yeah, we didn't like call each other every week or anything like that. But when we did reconnect, it was like we had never left. And I think we definitely made a commitment to at least talk to each other a few times a year and to visit each other. Yeah. That was important. So then you spend like that concentrated weekend with someone again, and it all comes back. You're all caught up, and then that takes you through the next few months. But I think what Becky said was a great point, is that you have to be intentional about who you choose to keep going. And if that's who you decide, you hope it's mutual. And B, you try to figure out what does that mean. And I don't think it's funny, because Becky and I lived in so many different cities before we were together again in the Bay Area. And I don't even know, like, we didn't even really have a routine. We just sort of like, when we were able to catch up, we were able to catch up. Like, when we were able to talk, when we were able to visit, etc. So
I will say the consistency part was about showing up. So if I needed you, if I called you, and even if we hadn't talked for 3 months, you would pick up the phone, you would call me back, you would, whatever that was, and vice versa. And I think that is the part that, you kind of know if that person's not your person, if they're not responding in and then you just got to like deal with it, right? We've talked about this, Maria. Like, how do I deal with this? I just like, no, do I continue to
right?
But I think there's been so many times when we weren't living in the same city that like there was just like I hadn't talked to you in 3 months, but then something happened in my life or your life, and it was like,
major life events as well.
Or even minor though. Like, it just, you were my person, and it was just so easy, but you would be there. You would be there. No questions asked. No, like, oh, I have all these friends in the city I'm in now. And like, I need to, it's
exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter that we're
exactly.
City, so.
Yeah. And we still collaborate on work projects now with our own separate businesses. And, Shasta, to your point, like I met my husband through work. So there is that idea of forming close relationships and close friendships. And there was at the job where I met my husband, it was a very similar environment to Anderson, is that everybody hung out together outside of work. Like there was a core group of people that we're still friends with now. We haven't worked at that company for a long time. Someone saying comment about the unwritten rule known as never dip your pen in the company ink. Thanks. Wow. Actually, my husband and I were friends first before we advanced it, and we advanced it very prudently, but thanks for that.
Well, I think what we can say to that is there is an unwritten rule, and it's an outdated rule that needs to be like, this is where we are interacting and our social lives are happening.
Yeah,
So
and I think
we need to speak about that
Yeah.
rule and rewrite it. Yeah,
You do, and you can't be ridiculous about it. Like, you have to
Yeah.
be prudent. But I will say that at that larger company where I met my husband, there were several marriages that came out of that
absolutely.
environment, and all of it was because there were groups of friends that got to know each other. It wasn't necessarily like one-on-one. So I think that there's something to that of getting to know people and having that core group, right, Becky? Like, I think that same core group that we hung out with at Anderson, we're still close to that entire group.
Well, then I recruited both of you for my startup in the Bay Area. So there's that. I was like, why not hire my friends? That makes sense. Why wouldn't I want to do that? The one thing I was going to say, Shasta, earlier about, finding your friends at work, whatever, like you've already vetted, like here you are working for a company that hopefully you were attracted to working at that company because of
part of the culture.
Passions and the culture. And this is what Maria and I talk about a lot, is like, how are you being transparent about your culture so that people that's the kind of place they want to work in, that they can identify with it and align with it and then work there. And so, already, like, why would we reject, like, you've already vetted people for me. I've already got like-minded people who are excited about things I'm excited about, right? Like, it's not that we're all the same, but like, you're coming into a place that, you've already got a leg up on the friendship thing, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
And
for sure.
We can all think about those places where we didn't have a good work experience. And I hardly have any friends from those work experiences because those workplaces didn't align with who I was. And not that they weren't lovely people, but to your point, I think when you're bringing your best self and you're happy and you're committed to an organization and you believe, and so do all these other people, that should be something that brings you together. Mm-hmm. And not have to have this like work persona and personal persona, which Shasta, you and I have talked a lot about with my book, The Empathy Edge. Like, we need to I used to think we shouldn't blur those lines, but I think we should. Right?
Yes, that's the point. Is we have these outdated modes that act like soft skills and hard skills, or this is what the rules are in the office and what it should be. And I'm not going to, and it's all the research. I mean, here's what it comes down to is, it's one thing if we just all sit there and say, where else are we going to make friends, and where else are we actually going to have the time to build what the two of you build? I mean, you put in a ton of hours being roommates and in this pod and in consulting work together, and so. Yeah, you've invested all this stuff. Like, why would you not get the benefit of those relationships, even if it was just to your benefit? But the fact is, the research shows it benefited Anderson to have you being friends.
That was their intent. I mean, that was honestly their intent, was to get people to form these very close relationships so that they would be very committed to the work. And to be fair, we were really young. We were like 22 coming out of college. And you had to work long hours. And they were like, we're going to do everything we can to make sure we create an environment where they're okay.
They're okay.
Where you want to be there, where you want to be there. It was brilliant of them. I mean, really,
it was kind of brilliant.
That more companies would do all of that. And I know that. So in the book, in the chapter, anybody can get this chapter if you just go to thebusinessoffriendship.com. It's a bonus chapter. Most of our friendships end because our jobs change and our consistency drops out. And the only way to keep these friendships, like if you want a friendship like Becky and Maria, the only way to keep that relationship is to add a new way of being consistent together, to add a new pattern outside of the workplace, which they did. Yeah. And you guys have done weddings and babies and health traumas and everything together. I love when you say she's my person. Like, this isn't just like, oh, we're networked together and we met at a job. You two are like legitimate best friends and so inspirational. Before you go, you just have to tell me, Maria, give me some encouragement. So you wrote the book, The Empathy Edge, and this came out last year. Where am I supposed to hold it? There we go. And it's harnessing the value of compassion as an engine for success, a playbook for brands, leaders, and teams. So you've been bringing empathy, a soft skill into the workplace, and you have a podcast launching tomorrow on it.
Yes.
Give me encouragement. Is the workplace I'm on another soft subject. How's the road looking for us? Are we being well received?
Really good. And I hate to say that, unfortunately, the pandemic accelerated this conversation of humanizing the workplace. And the funny thing that I'm seeing is that even though we're being forced to connect via technology, people are actually feeling a little closer because they're actually using technology more to connect in a social and personal way. They're doing their virtual happy hours and their virtual this and that as an intentional way to stay connected rather than relying on bumping into somebody in the hallway. And Becky can speak to this in terms of workplace culture and the book that she has coming out this fall. But it's people are talking about this now. And it's what I love is it's no longer like this taboo outlier subject. It's actually the people that don't embrace this viewpoint that you're putting forth in the book. Shasta is, they're the ones that are going to be the outliers. And unfortunately, the younger generations coming into the workplace are demanding this kind of workplace now. So they're with you and they're like, yeah, I spend the bulk of my time here. I want it to count. I want it to be meaningful. I want to have connections. So we're riding that wave right now, which I'm really excited about. Becky can speak to it more from a culture and innovation point of view too.
No,
that's your book.
I think you might have just quoted my quote in your book, Maria.
I did. I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. Wait. Sound good?
My book's called The Good Culture: A Leader's Guide to Creating a Workplace That Doesn't Suck. And
very good.
Out in November. So
very good.
Final touches on it right now. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Ditto.
And I quote Maria in my book too, because empathy is one of the best examples of positivity, which we all need in the workplace. So we're just all quoting each other.
I know. Great. Yes.
But it was, and I should say, I'm getting behind. I'm supposed to be dropping words for everybody, and I just got so excited. I've been forgetting to do that. But our second word is going to be empathy. So we are going to take your name, Maria, and go. But let me thank both of you for being on. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
So excited for you.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
we're
you.
so excited for this book. It's great.
Thanks for having us.
Well, you guys are like little celebrities from my book now. I'm just like, and I give to you chapter 12, Becky and Maria.
We're taking it on the road for you when we can take it on the road. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Right. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you. And we've got a couple different things I need to do because I just got so excited in interviewing people that one thing, we're going to give away another book. So somebody who tells us who your work best friend is and tags them in the comments here. So if you have a work best friend that you want to call out, somebody that's currently a best friend from work or that you met at work, and if you want to tag them on a comment and tell the world they're your friend, then we are going to pick a winner from that list and give away another book. But I also need to drop 2 words for you that I promised throughout the hours, and I will do better spreading them out. Our first word, though, was loneliness. Thanks to Paul coming on and helping us from Cigna talk about how lonely so many of us are and how we don't want to hold that as something negative, but actually something that we want to embrace. The message of feeling lonely is really beautiful. It's like telling us that we have more capacity to love and receive in this world, which is so cool. It's only damaging if we ignore it or don't do something about it. It's actually a really good message to hear. And then if it motivates us to do something about it. The second word, as I alluded to, is from Maria. It's empathy. And so in this first hour, you'll want to write down the word loneliness and empathy. And at the end, we're giving away prizes to everybody who captures all 5 words. It's like a little Easter egg hunt, except you just found 2 at once. And so in the last few moments of this hour, I want to bring on one of my best friends, Jaylene. And I don't know what we're doing for these few minutes. Hi, Jaylene.
Hi there.
You'll see her a few more times. She's a rock star in the workplace, a teacher for Spanish and Spanish literature at Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas. But she's coming on as just a best friend of mine. You'll see her show up in the 3rd hour where we actually have a whole bunch of my friends coming on. And I don't know what we're doing during these hours, but Jaylene, you were just going to come on and I'll do whatever you want me to do.
I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. I know that some people have to be curious about the writing process. So I wanted you to maybe just take these next couple of minutes to reflect on actually writing this book. And something that intrigued me that you said during this hour that I want to get back to. But first, I wanted to ask you, when you write a book, do you have like a rhythm that you do or like a ritual that you do? Do you always get up at 7:01? Do you always make yourself a cup of coffee? Is there like a rhythm or ritual to your madness, if you will, when it comes to writing a book?
I could probably just have you answer that question for me. You probably know. You could probably guess. Yeah, no, my books have been the rhythm of my books is like sell the proposal and line up the publisher. And then I always takes me a little while before I kind of like get into it. And I usually try to go away for a week or just block off a week to like try to deep dive in it because I have a really hard time just doing an hour a day and like getting into it. So I always try to go away for a whole week and like deep dive and get into the research and kind of just force myself to get several chapters done. And then I can carry that momentum for several months. And I try to just block off more half days and more like kind of days where I'm not doing anything else. So I'm somebody who does more big chunk writing. I'm not super good at like 30 minutes every morning. So I'm more of like a Wednesday this week. I have nothing scheduled. I'm protecting it and I'm writing. And so I do that. This book though, I actually did a lot more early mornings. I would wake up at 3:30 or 4 thinking about it. And once your brain starts, you like realize you've been writing in your sleep and you're just like, oh, maybe I should just get up and put that to paper before I forget it. So I did it more early mornings.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've heard various authors that will keep something on their nightstand so that they can write their ideas down, or they'll put it just into their phone now. Yeah, Brene Brown does that. I heard her say. I wanted to know, so well, I want to go back to that second question. You said that your favorite chapter to write in this book was chapter 2. You also said that it was the most controversial chapter. So I'm wondering, is that why it was your favorite book to write? Do you consider yourself one of those frontline controversial people ready to change the world?
No. And it's I think it was my favorite chapter was the leadership one, which is chapter 10 maybe or something. So I think I said 10 maybe, but not 2. The second chapter was actually my hardest chapter to write.
Oh, that was my third question.
Okay, I'll answer both of those.
Please do.
Yeah, chapter 2 was my hardest chapter to write because it's all the research for organizations. It's so chapter 1 is on why you need friends, and it's like your health, your happiness, your success, and all that kind of stuff. And then chapter 2 was why your organization should want you to have friends. And it was the hardest chapter to write because there was so much research that every person who read it said to me, this is too much data. And I was like, so wanting to be like, and then look at this, and then look at this, and then you need to know this, and then look at this. And it was so much data that people were just like, this just reads like data. So it was actually harder for me to like pull out half the research and go put story and other stuff around it. So there's like missing data in there that like just kills me because the data was so compelling. And I think I came at it just like, I will convince you. So it was like it was the driest chapter in that sense. And so it was the hardest chapter for me. I think it's chapter 10. I should know my chapters better. The leadership chapter is...
I'm sorry, I got that wrong. I thought I heard you tell Paul that it was chapter 2.
Yeah. No, it's chapter 11, Fear of Favoritism, or Does It Have to Be Lonely at the Top? How to Support Our Leaders Having Friends. That was one of my proudest chapters because I just that's the one thing that I feel like is the most controversial. And I feel like it's the most important that if there's anybody in our organizations that we don't want making decisions out of loneliness and acting with less empathy, which is one of the results of loneliness, it's our leaders. Like if there's anybody I want showing up in this world with like a ton of bravery, courage, vulnerability, and hope, it's the people who are leading us and making big decisions on our behalf. So, yeah, and I'm not a controversial figure, so it does scare me a little bit. but you know that I'm like, please still like me. Please don't disagree with me.
I would disagree with that. I think you step up at the right time, at the exact right time. I don't know how much time we have. I want to be respectful of your next hour. It's already 7:00, or that would be 7:00 my time. So
5:00 my time.
Do we have time for one more, or should we just done?
Let's hold off, and maybe I can bring you back in because I do love doing questions with you. So thank you so much, Shailene.
You're welcome.
For showing up.
Thank you.
Being awesome. Thanks, babe. All right. That's so fun. You're starting to meet some of my friends, and she does improv comedy, and so she's somebody who's just like, we'll just figure it out on the fly. So it's fun to see her pop in and help you get to know me, I guess, a little bit better. So Kristen, best friend, who do we want to give a free book to that shared a best friend? Oh, you're muted, baby. Darling.
Congratulations to Amy Christensen and Mike Walsh.
Oh, yay. We're giving 2 copies of books to the 2 of you. So we will make sure we have your addresses, and Mike, you win a gift because Amy is your friend and she named you. So congratulations to both
Yes,
of you.
I should mention
Awesome.
I'm contacting people via Messenger. So check your Messenger if you were announced as a winner.
Okay, awesome. Good. Well, thank you so much for, we've given away, I think, 4 books now. You got 2 words from the first hour, and we are getting ready to go into the second hour now. And so welcome to those of you who are just now joining us. We are so glad to have you. Thanks to all of you who are sticking with us. This upcoming hour is all about, come over this way. This upcoming hour is all about some of the people who are practicing the things in this book. They're the people who are like doing the work. They're not the ones who have to be convinced. They're the ones who can inspire the rest of us with their stories. And so I'm really excited to be interviewing just really amazing people that I've had the privilege of meeting and connecting with. And these people wow me. And I just think if we could replicate what they do and the way that they lead and the way they're making choices, this world will be a better place. So they're going to give us good stories and good examples and good inspiration. And one of my favorite things I'm looking forward to talking about is diversity in the workplace. That's coming up, and how friendship can play a big role in helping all of us have more diverse friends. And then, of course, the third hour, we are going to get more personal, and it's all about Shasta and her friends and the people who inspire her, and just the people who have helped make this book possible. So we're going big kind of in the second hour and talking about how this can make a big difference in the world. And then the last hour is a little more intimate, a little bit more of just us. And you're going to be in my living room. Well, we're going to like my metaphoric living room. And so super excited for what's still coming. So big, big, big welcome. If anyone's just now joining us, we loving seeing all the comments. I just look over and keep seeing the fun stuff there. And Amy Christensen just won 2 books with her and her best friend. So we'll be giving away some more books here in a moment. So I want to start this section highlighting a little bit. For those of us who are data people, we can see the rest. Can we see that? Sounds awesome. Yes. Oh yeah, you're talking about for the second chapter for sure, Nicholas. I'll try to go back to my original second chapter and send you a dry chapter. But for sure, there's so much great research out there. And maybe I'll just spend a moment highlighting some of it. Let me tell you that if you have not ordered my book, or you're waiting for it to come, and it should start shipping tomorrow. So you'll want to get that. But if you want a sneak peek, you will want to text the word friendship to 474747. And so you want to text the word friendship to 474747, and you'll get the first chapter of my book tonight. And that chapter has a whole bunch of the research around why we want friends, like in the workplace, and why it matters to us in really significant big ways. And then the second chapter is more on all the research around for organizations. And then the rest of the book is like how we do this. But those first chapters set up the why. And so you can start diving into some of the research by getting that chapter as soon as tonight by texting 474747 the word friendship. And let me just share with you 1 or 2 things that jumped out from me from that chapter with the research, because I think it's really important as we kind of set up like why, like we're going to start talking to some people this hour, that we think about friendship in the workplace as having some risks associated with it. And so like I think it helps to really start with like why it's worth the risks, like why this really matters. And the health statistics, you might have heard it in the book promo at the beginning, and this isn't necessarily work related, but it's our lives in general. If we feel disconnected, it's as harmful to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Just let that land. It's twice as harmful as being obese. It factors into our health more than what we eat or whether we exercise. And it does the equivalent damage on our bodies as if we were lifelong alcoholics. So let me just reiterate that loneliness is not a bad thing, just like hunger isn't a bad thing. Hunger becomes a bad thing if we don't have access to nourishing food, or if we end up making choices about not eating and having that food. But similarly, loneliness is not bad for us. It's a message telling us we have a need. what happens, the damage comes if we don't get that need met in nourishing ways. And that's where the damage comes down. Phil, maybe let's put up the quote by Dr. Dean Ornish. He is one of the first doctors that really helped us presence just how important this is. This association between social and community ties and premature death was found to be independent of and a more powerful predictor of health and longevity than age, gender, race, socioeconomic status, self-reported physical health status, and health practices such as smoking, alcoholic beverage consumption, overeating, physical activity, and utilization of preventative health services, as well as a cumulative index of health practices. And there's so much research. I take a lot of that research and put that into that first chapter that just goes to show how important our relationships are to our health. They really act as a buffer. They actually prevent us from stress, prevent us from absorbing the impact of the stress. They're like a protective barrier on our body. There's a really cool study that I share in there about how we can take MRI brain image scans now and actually see less cortisol, less brain activity, less stress going into our bodies when we feel supported by somebody. The most important question doctors are now saying that tell us more about your health, my health, 20 years from now, our likelihood of dying or having disease, that the most important question they can be asking us now is how loved and supported do you feel? So this is not a fluffy subject. This is not a subject just like, oh, yeah, I mean, I wish I had friends. This is like big, big stuff. And if we're not getting it in the workplace, so who we're working next to and interacting with all day long impacts our health almost more than that best friend that we only talk to a couple times a year. These are the people that are impacting our health for good or for bad on a really consistent, regular basis. And so they can do a lot of damage, and they can do a lot of powerful, amazing things for our health and our happiness based on how we build those relationships. Oh, yay, Peggy. I love that. That's good. I want more men to have good friendships. So this matters so much to our health, so much to our happiness. And it just is. So you'll want to get that first chapter for sure and be wowed by all of that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to a lineup of amazing people here in this hour, of people who can inspire us to practice what's in the book. I'm going to give you the third word for those of you who might just now be joining. Our third word, you're collecting words throughout the night. And for everybody who collects all 5 words, you will be eligible for $600 worth of classes. That third word is leadership. You saw it flashed up there. And so you will definitely want to write down the third word, which is leadership. And this is a really important one. So a lot of these people that we're going to be interviewing in this hour are all leaders, and which is what I think is really important. And we were talking about leadership with Jaylene earlier, and just talking about how that was one of my favorite chapters to write, because our leaders need to be modeling this. Our leaders need to be helping foster this. Our leaders can make such an impact in whether we feel seen and supported at work. So without further ado, I want to bring on Gary Irwin, who is COO of Creative Financial Services. And I think, Gary, you have 34 offices around the country that you are constantly recruiting and helping put staff together for accounting and technology and finance and stuff. Is that true?
Somewhere around that number, Shasta. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. Yeah, so Gary and I met last January. I came to speak at an event with his top salespeople. And so, Gary, I have to start and ask you right off the bat, when you were pitched the idea of having a friendship speaker come in and do your sales training for all of your people, what was your first impression, honestly, your first reaction, honestly?
Okay, so first of all, it wasn't pitched to me. I saw it on the internet with Jennifer Lear on her Facebook, I believe, and I watched it and I sent her a text and I'm like, this is totally different than anything we've ever done, but I want her.
Wow.
And so and I was scared at the same time, because I thought, whoa, what's my staff going to think? Because we brought some incredible speakers in to talk to our group, and we're a sales organization, so we're in staffing, and we help companies find rock stars for their accounting and technology departments. And so to bring somebody in totally different, I was kind of scared, but at the same time, I thought, what could take our company to a different level, and what are we really missing? So, so we spent some time and we talked about it, and you and I chatted on the phone, and I jumped on it, but at the same time, I was pretty scared on it. And
Yeah.
so then when you came in, within the first hour, I'm getting texts from our employees like, "You did awesome. This was a great idea, and we got a ton out of it." So afterwards, I probably got, and again, we've had some incredible speakers, and afterwards, I got so many thank yous and awesome comments about how well you did and what our people really got out of it, which again was totally different than anything we've ever done before.
Oh, well, it was such a privilege to me. And I didn't know that you had initiated that. I just thought, man, who's this brave guy bringing in a friendship person? Because I can attest there's not enough people out there Googling, oh, we need somebody to come in and teach friendship to our employees. So yeah, what prompted you to want friendship for your employees? Had you read something or what?
No,
Yeah, that's so interesting.
First of all, I wasn't thinking that this was going to be helpful for me personally. But I got a lot out of it personally and for work and in my personal life. So, it made me realize some of the things. And I can remember texting a couple of my friends during your time talking to us that some of the things you suggested. I reached out to some of my friends, and I'm realizing that, God, some of my best friends, other than putting golf together, I pretty much let my wife organize everything, and I just went along with everything. So my best friends, I reached out to while I was there. But I think, I think just the thought, and as I looked around our country, and we're a sales organization has a lot of people that it could be very cutthroat, and it could be very much looking out for themselves. And and I think my company, my boss, Dan Casey, has always said that, hey, first of all, find people that you like to hire, and then hopefully they could do a great job, but make sure you like them first. And at first I didn't, I listened to that, but I didn't really pay much, I didn't pay much attention to it. And I hired some people that, I thought, well, it's just work. Who cares if they don't have to be liked, but they do have to be liked because everyone else has to get along with them. And to be able to, I'm not saying they have to be great friends, but the things that make up a great friendship, I think is very important in an office. And they have to work together and all to try to achieve the same common goal. But at the same time, when there's commissions involved, and there could be some selfishness along the way. And so I was dealing with some selfishness and some things where I thought certain situations weren't going the way I wanted them to. So I thought, well, this could really help. And then after we did it, many other situations kind of popped up that we're like, wow, that's helping this situation that we didn't even really know was a problem. So that was kind of the direction that we went.
Beautiful. Well, several of the things I loved about you and how you modeled it is one thing I remember I said to you at the forefront, I have an assessment, and that assessment, by the way, is available and free to everybody at the businessoffriendship.com for everybody's teams to use, where people can assess, kind of rate how they feel on their team and how connected they feel to each person on their team. And I asked you if you were interested in doing that, and you ended up saying yes for all 34 of your offices, I believe, where we ended up having that assessment, which we were then able to give you scores for every office, if there were, you can kind of tell if there were some problems or which of the 3 requirements was lowest and where you could be impacted by that. Yeah. Did anything jump out at you from that, or anything that, any outcomes that you would look at that just felt like resonated with you and it changed anything that happened the way you guys did work?
It didn't shock us where some of those negatives came out. The positives were awesome, but that didn't shock us. But the negatives, what I loved about it is the people and I would pick on a couple offices that came back and said, hey, we think we could do better at this. And 2 of the offices that didn't rate very well came back and they said, hey, we want to start a book club with their book, which was obviously before this book. And they had, monthly calls, or they turned into monthly video calls or Zoom calls like we're doing.
Oh, I love that.
But at first they were going to be monthly calls or monthly meetings. And it's turned out, and I think the atmosphere's changed. I think it's turned out very positive. It's not perfect, and we keep striving to get a little bit better at that situation. So, I thought we were a company that did a lot of things really well and treated people really well, but we learned a lot of things about how everybody could be a little bit different, a little bit better. And again, myself, I wasn't going into that thinking that I was going to learn a ton out of your presentation, but I came away with a lot of information that helped me personally and helped me professionally.
Gary, your testimony means so much. And I remember, I think I posted on LinkedIn when I was at your awards dinner the night before I spoke at your event. And I believe somebody in your office, Becky, was retiring.
Yeah.
And you were thanking her, and you said, she's my best friend at work. And I remember the night before just being like, oh, look at this good leadership being modeled from the front. And you teared up. And I just remember, this is a good man. This is a man who is willing to say, I have friends, that it matters, that I care about people, that those relationships will be missed. And I have just the utmost respect for you. Do you have any close friends right now, or or is lonely? Do you feel like it's lonely at the top?
I have a few close friends, but a lot of people that I have friendship qualities with. And so, Becky left and was with my company for 20 some years. And I got to see her last weekend, which was awesome. And she's moved to Florida. And so I got to see her, which was the first time since she retired. But that was a tough situation. But I have other very close friends, and probably a couple that I consider best friends.
Awesome. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
No, because I got a couple in mind, and I'm going to pass on that.
Fair enough. I have evidence that you're somebody who models it and lets them know that. So that's awesome. Gary, it was such a privilege to have you join us. And thank you for taking the risk that it was to have me come speak to your organization. And just want to thank you for being one leader out in this world who is helping make their offices and their teams more conducive, more friendly, more meaningful. So just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Shasta. Best of luck with your book. I'm sure everyone's going to love it. So, and I'm sure my employees will love it. So have a great rest of your day. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too.
Oh, isn't he a good man? I just have so much respect for him. He's got such a gentle spirit and shows up in the world in such a powerful way. Their organization, when I was there, it's fun to go in and speak, and it's fun to kind of go in and watch how many things they are already doing so well that you can say, this makes sense that they're bringing somebody in like me, even though it's risky and not necessarily a subject that workplaces are doing on the regular. They have big trips that they take their staff on. They were all going, a big group of them were going to go to Mexico together. And so there's a lot of things that you can look and say, this is an organization that is benefiting from having friendships and having that modeled. And so it was really beautiful to have Gary from Creative Financial Services to get to know them and their amazing organization. Now, the next leader that I want to introduce you to is because she comes at this with the human resource hat on. And this is always the person, the title, the position that I think is stereotypically the one most nervous about friendships in the workplace. A lot of the HR people I talked to were just like, yeah, I'm okay with, like, in theory, people having meaningful connections. They'll like use every other word except friendship. And they'll say, I want them to get along, or I want them to like each other. But they had such a hard time saying friendship. And then those who did kind of say friendship, they'd say, yeah, but we don't want it with, a leader. And they were the ones who understandably can see all the potential drama and to see potential downsides or kind of the pitfalls of what I would not call friendship. I would call those the drama of kind of just human interactions. And I would actually argue, and I do in my book, that the 5 greatest fears we have of relationships in the workplace, favoritism being at the top, gossip, what if I have to fire my friend? What if I have to, what if my friend gets promoted over me and we're competitive? When you list all the greatest fears, I make a case that you could actually take all of those, you could have a workplace that doesn't allow friendships and nobody is friends with each other, and that wouldn't eliminate those fears. You would still have people worry about favoritism. You would still feel overlooked. You would still wonder if gossip is happening, because those aren't things about friendship. Those are things about human interaction. And the truth of the matter is, it's friendship that actually has the highest likelihood of training people and setting healthy expectations and actually leaving them feeling more supported, seen, and loved, which actually has the biggest chance of diminishing those things that we're most afraid of. So I really think the answer isn't to pull away from friendship, but it's to lean into friendship, talk about it more, model it more, teach it more, train it more. And that's the answer to actually decreasing some of the things we're most afraid of. But with all that said, HR people are sometimes the ones who realize some of the drama the most. So it's my greatest honor to bring in Sylvia Mungia Pittman. It's Mungia Pittman, right? Yeah, so I did that right. And Sylvia is HR Executive Director for Human Resources for Adventist Health and Rideout in Marysville, California. And she's such a beautiful light. You'll want to unmute yourself. And you look gorgeous tonight, by the way. She is Executive HR Director of Human Resources. And I met her last December when I had the privilege of coming and speaking for one of their leadership events, I believe. But yeah, Sylvia, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, yes. Actually, our Leadership Development Institute, you came on board. Yeah, that was our first introduction.
Well, and I want to say that one of the things that what I wanted to highlight with you tonight here is that you had your entire organization take the Gallup engagement assessment, which is, it takes a test for everybody and kind of assesses which of the engagement issues. And I have a best friend at work is one of Gallup's engagement questions. And it's the one that they've had the most pushback on and has been one of the biggest controversies. And that one was your lowest score, if I remember correctly, and ended up after a year. Did that then become the highest score, or that became?
It was our number one. It was actually reported as our number one strength. So it definitely leaps and bounds in 1 year.
I think, that is amazing to me. So let me just step back for everybody and let everybody know that Gallup says that if people answer the question, I have a best friend at work, they are the best employees. So without fail, they tested it with I have a friend at work, or I have several people I like, and all these different ways. And it came down to the best correlation is I have a best friend at work, they make the best employees 7 times more engaged, better customer service, they call in sick less, they have more retention, less turnover, like the list goes on and on and on. So you saw that was the lowest score. And I'm so curious to tell me what went through your head, and then what did you actually do differently to move that score up? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that question really created the most buzz. It's like, best friend at work. My best friend doesn't work here. My best friend is in Southern California, in the Central Valley, anything else except having a best friend at work. So what we thought, there was different engagement initiatives that we did at the hospital, but we formed an engagement committee. So this engagement committee was formed of frontline staff members. And so we thought, throughout the year, we are not only going to define what best friend at work is, but we are going to promote it and we're going to encourage it. Our organization definitely firmly believes in having friendships at work. And I know I talked to some of the colleagues and they're like, friendships, not in the organization, but just in the industry. And just as to your point, it's such a controversy, like, well, friends, there's going to be favoritism, there's going to be all these reasons of why friendships are not successful at work. So what we did throughout the year, the engagement committee was actually called Loving Out Loud at Adventist Health and Rideout. So, you have loves and we're promoting friendship. They're like, Sylvia, you're gone crazy. What are you doing? But really, those are the elements of really talking about Paul mentioned the loneliness that people feel. And oftentimes we meet with people and they say, well, I don't even have to be friends. I don't have to be friends with them. I just want to come and do my work. But you really can hear the loneliness behind those comments. So throughout the year, we developed like a best friend day, ice cream socials, and we encourage, send selfies with your best friend. We actually had a raffle where associates were encouraged to share their stories of their best friend at work. And through those stories and through those events, we highlighted what exactly is a best friend. It's someone who has your back, someone that you can call when you're having a rough day, someone that is there for you when they need you. And we had several of those events throughout the year, so it wasn't a one-stop shop. And actually, as I'm talking now, I realize that our events, our engagement events, really align with your Friendimacy triangle, which it talks about the positivity, and that's really showing kinds of kindness, kinds of, oh my God, I even talk, the love, act of kindness. And that was echoed throughout the year, is how do you show kindness, which is really how do you show love. And the consistency is having those scheduled events throughout the year. And then the vulnerability is actually sharing your story. You mentioned diversity earlier, and one of the things that we incorporated in this calendar of events were a history behind St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, Mardi Gras. I mean, something that you automatically attribute to something else. And we actually did associates, and they told their story of what the history of that is. So we did include diversity in that. And you mentioned it in your book as well, chapter 3, where, you know, typically when people think of my friends, it's someone that looks like me, that has the same background, that we share a lot of similarities. And through these events, we show that no, it could be someone. It doesn't have to be your ethnicity, the same background, the same age. It's broad. So we did that intentionally, and we really highlight and we promote the value of just having friends at work, and we embrace it. We actually promote it in our organization.
I think that's incredible, because I think it's incredible. Any organization that cares enough, obviously, to be doing an assessment and being able to say, we want to hear the engagement and see these numbers, and then actually looks at that and says, wow, friendship, like, okay, let's dive in. Let's figure that out. I mean, I think you're a rare organization. And I think that your leadership in that you actually, I loved hearing some of those specific examples of things that you did. And if I remember correctly, you actually came to work there because of a friendship. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes. I was actually in the Bay Area. Yeah, I was actually in the Bay Area. Love the Bay Area. I'm actually from Central Valley, moved to the Bay Area, and I thought, I am never leaving this area. I love it. And then I got a call from a friend, you know, about an opportunity out here, and I actually uprooted my family and moved just because of the relationships that I build with not only the organization, but with the individual in the organization. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say he was able to recruit you basically because of a friendship that you had from having worked together somewhere else before.
Yes, absolutely. And I myself rely on a lot of the friendships that, you know, those meaningful connections that you develop throughout your career. Because with friendship comes the trust, the reliability, the love. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits that we just want to make sure that all our associates promote. And you mentioned the fears. That is so true. And I know myself, when I started in my career, the first thing they tell you, you're not here to make friends. You leave your, you know, situations at the door. You're at work. You're here to do a role, and you're kind of programmed to have work and life, and there was no integration with that. And that is really an antiquated thought. If we have to get rid of this fear, you know, the situations you mentioned, the favoritism, all of those things. If you remove friendship, you will still have those issues. And I think of a lot of my HR professionals will agree that whether you're friends or not, you're going to have those issues. I think if anything, it's going to be worse not having that friendship in the workplace.
May you be contagious to all the other HR professionals out there, Sylvia. I love it. And it was such a privilege to be brought into your leadership organization and to be able to help speak there, and to have it be a part of your bigger strategy, to not just have it be a one shot, like here's a great speaker, but it was actually like, hey, we're trying to build relationships. So let's teach everyone how to do this. It speaks to the strategic nature of of how intentionally you came to this. So I just want to say a huge, huge thanks. And do you have any friends that you want to call out tonight? You are so welcome to. We are all about celebrating our workplace friends.
You know, just like I have too many. I will honestly tell you, I have built such strong relationships in my career. It's too many we would be here all night to list them all. They know who they are. They know who they are. But it's really been a big help for me. So.
Oh, Sylvia, thank you so much for coming on, and bonus points that you were able to name some of the things you did and tie it to my Friendship triangle. That was extra bonus points for you.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, I was like, wait a minute, we followed it, the positivity, vulnerability, consistency, and that all those elements were part of our initiative without even realizing that what it was. So yeah.
Well, I always say you've never built a meaningful friendship without positivity, consistency, and vulnerability. Absolutely. Like most people don't do it knowingly, but it's so powerful now that when you know it and understand what it is. But we can always look back on any bond we ever made, and we'll be able to see examples of those three things. So you were able to do it in real time, which is awesome. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. It means the world.
No, thank you, and congratulations. Your book is awesome. And to all HR, if you need research and if you have good data, get the book. It is amazing. And I highly, highly recommend. And thank you so much, Shasta. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Oh, my privilege.
You too.
My privilege. Thank you. And let's do another book giveaway. Yay! So if we've got any leaders listening online, and if you just kind of do a hand raise, tell us, like, say I'm in leadership, and maybe share with us what your experience is like. Do you find yourself, is it lonelier? Is it harder? What's the challenge? You can share with that, whatever you want. But if we've got any managers, any HR professionals, any people who are, overseeing and making decisions on behalf of others, we would love to see you, and we'd love to gift a book to one of you. And so you heard from Gary Irwin, who's a COO, and you've heard from Sylvia, who's HR, and both of them saying focusing on friendships made a difference to their own lives and to their organizations and to their numbers and to I think about Sylvia in healthcare, like that's a big resiliency. It's a really big issue right now in healthcare. Like, how do we help people recover from the stress of what they're doing on a daily basis? And feeling supported in relationships are like one of the best ways to like help build that resiliency. And so if we've got any leaders then make sure you raise your hand, and we will definitely pick out a leader here in just a moment to gift another book to. And also on the leadership front, just want to let everyone know, I mentioned it a couple of times, but in passing, I'll just say a little bit more in depth. And that is that at thebusinessoffriendship.com, I put together a team toolkit, which is all of the resources that a leader might need for helping build better relationships at work. And so we've got in there a book guide. So like Gary was talking about how several of his offices were doing book discussion groups. We've got those. We've got all the guides that a team would need for that. We have an assessment that everybody on a team can take, or you can take, to kind of identify which of these three things would make the biggest difference to you feeling like you belong more on a team. I have 35 sharing questions on there for managers to use at team meetings. I also made 4 videos. It's like gone are the days where writing the book was the hard part, right? Like now you have to write a book, and then it's like, and then all of April and May, I was like, okay. And then you're putting all the resources together. But I made 4 videos that are like 5 minutes intended for you to kind of show remotely or in person to your team. And it helps teach a little thing on friendship, and then opens up an activity for your team to do. So all kinds of resources at thebusinessoffriendship.com for everybody who pre-orders the book. And pre-order it ends tonight. The book is available tomorrow. So if you want to be somebody who pre-ordered the book, you have to do it right now. And you will get the entire toolkit, the team toolkit, at thebusinessoffriendship.com. And I just wanted to also pause for a moment before we announce that leadership winner, to also reiterate some of the what you're hearing people referring to as the triangle, what I call the Friendship triangle. And maybe Phil, we can put that triangle up really quickly and move this way. And I go into great detail in the book, but it's really important for us to realize that when we study what makes for a healthy team, like Google, they have their psychological safety, which actually, when you pull it apart, and I do in the book, it leads to these three things. When we look at why do you feel more bonded to one person over another? Or what is trust? Like when we say we want to trust somebody, or that we want to like somebody or feel close to somebody, what are we saying? We're saying these three things. At the bottom, it has to feel good. Like when we're talking, like all of us showed up at this launch party or got this book because we want to enjoy our relationships more. We want to feel more loved. We want to feel more accepted. We want to feel more validation. So this includes laughter and gratitude and celebration and pride and inspiration and hope and all the good stuff. All the good stuff. And then both sides of the triangle then move up. So once it feels good, we're going to want to spend more time with each other, which is consistency. And then as it feels good, we'll get to know each other better, which is vulnerability. And those three things continue to happen over and over and over. And they start at the bottom of the triangle. Every relationship, when you first start working with somebody, starts at the bottom. And as we practice those three things, some of our relationships, based on how much we practice those three things, will move up the triangle. And so at the very top of the triangle, you'll have the closest of friends, the fewest, but these are the people who practice the highest level of consistency, meaning we've got a lot of history built and we believe there's a future. We know each other, we spent time together, we've made memories together, we've logged the hours, and we have the highest level of vulnerability, which means we know each other, we can predict how each other will answer things, we feel really connected and close. And we have the highest level of expressed positivity. We know that we're loved and we can assume the best of each other. And so when we talk about friendships in the workplace, the goal isn't that all of our friendships are at the top. I think what's really important is to highlight that what we want is at least every relationship to be on the bottom level. So we at least want every friendship to feel as friendly and as safe and as supportive and like feel accepted for who I am and what I'm showing at least. And so I teach 5 different levels of friendship. And I teach kind of when I go into this book, my big model kind of was I want everybody to at least, if you're working together, you need to be at least at the first level, if possible, of that triangle. And so I teach how to repair relationships that don't feel positive and how to build those up. I would hope, and a lot of teams and a lot of offices and a lot of departments would hopefully be at level 3. Like they have a high level of consistency and reliability. They know each other and it feels safe. And they might not be that close outside of work, but they feel really seen and supported in their workplace, in what they share together. And so that's at level 3. And then you hear of some people like Maria and Becky, who we talked to in the first hour, who they end up taking their relationship outside of the workplace and create consistency outside of work, and they move their relationship all the way up to the top of the triangle. So the important thing tonight isn't that we all need a best friend at work who's at the top of our triangle. The important thing is we all need to feel supported and seen and connected in our workplaces, and that's super, super important. So that's the triangle I wanted to show you. And Kristen, come on, sweetheart, and tell me who is our winner for a leadership person.
Hey everyone!
Hi.
Congratulations!
How are you doing, by the way?
Oh, I'm doing great. I have the best job ever. I just announce winners and I make everybody happy. Congratulations to Patricia Glass. Patricia is one of our YouTube viewers. She's in HR. She says she might be a little old school, but she wants to read more about it. So we'd love to help you do that, Patricia.
We would definitely like to do that. That's awesome. Congratulations, Patricia, and love your YouTube video with the bright pink hair and your avatar. That's awesome. So good. We'll make sure. So Kristen will make sure she gets connected with you, and we'll get that book to you. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, that's super fun. And now I want to introduce you to somebody that I've actually never met. So one of the interesting things, hi Omar, big welcome. Thanks for being here. Before we get started, I'm going to show this is who was supposed to be on tonight, was Jeff Lindauer and Omar Lehman. These are a couple of the many, 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 many photos that they were showing to us. And so Jeff and Omar have been friends a long, long time. And I know Jeff, I know your friend Jeff, and I've never met Omar. And Omar has, this is a good sign of, this is evidence of their friendship right here, is that Omar just got roped into this whole thing. He didn't even give permission to be in the book. I just took Jeff's story and got Jeff's permission. And then Jeff was supposed to be on here with you, but there's like a fire in Colorado that he's needing to be attentive to. And so not only did your story get written up in the book, but you are the one got roped into being with me on video. So a huge welcome to you, Omar. Glad you're here.
Well, thank you, Shasta. And, you know, as usual, I have to carry the load because Jeff is busy up at his cabin. So, you know, I'm used to that. And I guess it's part of how our friendship has survived.
I love it. Well, we can talk all we want about him because he's not here to defend himself. So that's awesome. So the story of that, when I heard Jeff's story, and you guys will all love Jeff and Omar's story in the book on the chapter on leadership, because one of the things that makes this story so interesting, Omar, in my opinion, is that he worked for you. And then at another point in time, you worked and reported to him, which is different than another point in time where you both actually consulted and worked on a company together, if I have that right. So one of the things I love about your story is so many people say, well, I'm okay with the leader having friends as long as they don't report to each other. And I think, well, if we all kept the same job forever, that would be fine. But the truth of the matter is we're all changing jobs. We're changing what we do. And so I love your story at least that's the way he told me the story. Does that resonate with your story?
Well, yes, it is. I guess it is a little bit unique in how it all began and, you know, and how it's survived.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me what was the hardest part about being friends when one of you worked for the other? I'm super curious if there was ever a time where you were like, is this appropriate or should I be doing this? Or like, where was the hardest part? Was it when he was reporting to you to him, or like, yeah, where did it get kind of risky at any time?
Well, that's a great question. And let me kind of paint a picture for just a minute. You know, I met Jeff 36 years ago. We were both working at a company called MCI, which was in telecommunications. We were a Fortune 50 company. MCI was kind of a unique place, had a very unique culture. We were very much focused on the people in the company and not the senior executives. One day, and this was literally 36 years ago, somebody walks into my office in Denver and says, "Hi, I'm Jeff Lindauer." I'll always remember it because he was wearing a sport coat with patches on his sleeves. And he was also wearing cowboy boots, which was kind of interesting, memorable. And I said, hey, you know, he was new and I had just moved to Denver. And and we just chatted for a little bit. And he said, well, I want you to know what my goal is. And I said, oh, well, what's that? He says, well, I want to be like you someday. And so I always remembered that. That was kind of unique. So what's been kind of difficult in our relationship? I mean, you know, he worked in that organization. I called on him on a couple different times to run business units for me. He actually left the company. And that was probably a difficult moment when he came and said, I'm going to resign and take another opportunity. And it was a great opportunity. I was very supportive of it, but that was difficult. And then when I was working for him, when we were both working at a company that he was the CEO of up in Canada, the kind of tables reversed, and I had to go and tell him that I was resigning and leaving.
Yeah, you guys have been through some hard things. I mean, those are situations where it'd be easy to take it personally or to have the friendship kind of fall apart or not necessarily feel like you knew how to keep staying connected. And yeah, when one of you works there, what do you credit? And you can take all the credit because he's not here, but what would you credit to you both, like maintaining this friendship outside of and beyond and yeah, bigger than any one job either of you held?
Well, I will take all the credit for the relationship. Thank you, Shasta. No, seriously. I think because we were both very driven and we were both successful in what we did, that our kind of individual success complemented each other when we were working for each other or with each other. And so when you're successful, I think it just drives all good things. I mean, it's difficult in a business relationship to have a friend that's not performing. It's difficult in a business relationship to have a friend that, is having difficulty and you have to counsel them or whatever. We didn't really run into that. Jeff always did a great job when he was working for me and running a business unit that he grew from virtually nothing to $300 million. And then, when I had an opportunity to work for him, we were growing a company, a new company, a startup, and we enjoyed it immensely. Why? Because we were being successful. And then after we were working for each other, we decided to form our own advisory group, and that's where we really had some fun.
Well, I will say to not undersell, because there's a lot of times where success actually breeds a lot of competition, a lot of fighting for credit, I don't think it's as natural that with success just automatically makes it easier, because there's a lot of us who have an easier time being I don't know, like a lot of when I study friendship, it's often easier when we talk about vulnerability and how important vulnerability is in the workplace. We often have a easier time expressing where we're failing or what we're moaning about or venting about than it is to actually show up and say, we're awesome, this is good, you did a great job, I did a great job, and actually celebrate and express pride. Those are big acts of vulnerability. So those are things that are big contributors to you guys. That is not, I wouldn't say is just easy. I give you even more credit.
Well, I don't know if we got credit. I think, when we were working together and we were successful, it was good for us. It was good for the company. We're very company oriented kind of guys. And, and Jeff has gone on and started his distillery business in Colorado, Spring 44.
Spring 44.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's an awesome place. He does, remarkably well. So, I mean, and we continue to be friends. I mean, we've been on fishing trips to Alaska together. We've been on recognition trips together. He invites me up to his cabin to perform slave labor. I mean, there's all kinds of other things that we've been able to do over the years. Our wives know each other. We've followed each other's kids. I mean, it's just been a really, really great relationship.
Well, Omar, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for getting roped in and for showing up. And I just have such respect for Jeff and his beautiful wife, Jamie, as one of my dear girlfriends. And I got the privilege of hearing about your friendship story while I was driving him to the hospital, and he was on painkillers. So I had to go back and double check the story afterward. But I was always so glad I did that favor for them, because that's where I heard the story. So thank you so much for showing up tonight. And it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for loving them well.
Thank you, Shasta, and let him know how well I did. Okay.
I will. Right. I will definitely tell him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love that. Don't you love that? You're going to see them in my book, and you're going to see their names, and you're going to be like, I remember Omar. And I just love that. These are people that you hear how, he kind of talked about, we just did so, because we were successful, we felt close. And it's really cool. The two go back and forth and just feed each other. It's not by accident that they were successful and were friends. The research backs that up. I can't get over saying that. I mean, so many people, we forget that the research shows that the number one factor to us having job satisfaction, to us feeling productive, to us wanting to be at a job, to us actually showing up and being excited to show up on Monday morning, comes down to whether we have somebody we're excited to see. We can love a brand, we can love a paycheck, we can love our job description, but it's only other people that we work with that will leave us feeling like we belong. And conversely, we could have the great paycheck and the great job description and the work for the best brand. And if we don't enjoy who we work with, it will end up just tearing us apart and we will not be happy. It's really significant. One of the big studies that came out while I was researching this book, I had so much research that it kind of amazed me, but this one was so big, I had to kind of go and put it in. It's the Myers-Briggs Institute did a study of 110 countries, over 10,000 people, asking what was the biggest factor to job satisfaction. And it didn't surprise me that relationships were toward the top. It wowed me, though, that it edged out every other factor, and that how much we enjoy our coworkers ended up being the number one factor for our job satisfaction. So it's for our benefit that we want to have friends at work. It's to our employees' benefit. It's like, this is such a win-win-win-win thing. And I love seeing all these different stories that make such a huge difference to that. So as we wrap up this hour, I want to bring on one more person who is just such a beautiful, beautiful soul. And when we finish that interview, then we go into the third and final hour of this marathon. And this time in the third hour is going to be all about my friends and all the amazing people who I love and who have supported me and so many of my friends. We're going to tell stories and play some games, which I'm super excited about. So it's going to get more intimate. And as we end this section, though, I'm bringing on people who inspire me with how they are living this out in their organizations. And this next guest is somebody who I had the privilege of interviewing during a keynote last week. And what she shared and how she shared it was so impactful to the people who were with us at the WIT Regatta. And I was just teaching on the triangle and healthy friendships. And then we had a conversation on diversity in the workplace. And so please join me in welcoming Kimberly Thompson, who oversees talent management and diversity and inclusion at Edward Life Sciences. Kimberly, thank you for coming back. This would be your second night in like 7 days in joining me on live.
It's whirlwind. It is so whirlwind. It is so exciting to be with you, Shasta.
You're going to be like, man, being friends with this girl is work.
But it's so much fun. It's so much fun to see you shine, and it's so much fun to, watch you bring others along. Like, you're not just doing this for you, and that's what is exciting for me. Like, you're bringing all your friends along in this process.
Oh, well, I am so grateful for you being on. And I really want to presence the beginning of our conversation with two things. One is I talked about with Paul Montanari at the top of the show about how people of color are reporting higher levels of loneliness in the workplace than white people are. And that's measured in large part by many people of color feeling like they would be alienated under stress, or that they can't bring their whole self to work and that they're not really being seen or completely accepted and validated in those ways, which is heartbreaking. So I want to hold that statistic here. And then the other thing I kind of want to presence and have you kind of speak to it is the other thing I kind of want to presence is something we talked about last week, which is when we're looking at wanting to bring more inclusivity in our workplaces and in our world, one of the most powerful things can be having friendships with people who are different from us. And yet the research shows, I think that, isn't it like 81% of white people don't have a Black friend? I mean, it's like really tragic numbers. And that we just tend to gravitate to people who are like us, and we tend to be segregated in our neighborhoods and in so many places in life, that the workplace should be one of those places where we have the highest likelihood of having more diversity and having the opportunity to connect more. So it feels like there's an intersection here where workplace, friendship, and diversity could all meet. And I would just love to hear your wisdom on kind of your reflection on some of that. Kind of broad.
It can. Here's the thing that I love about you, and what you're bringing to the forefront. The reality is the workplace is different for all of us. And we need to be mindful that, particularly for women of color or people of color, their workplace experience is so different from everyone else's, right? And so then the question becomes, what can we do, right? So that we're all having a rich workplace experience, right? How do we make those connections so that they are, I would say, that they're real and authentic, and we're all benefiting from these relationships? Because I like going to work. I like the people that I work with. And I always have. From every job that I have had, great relationships and great experiences. And by the very nature of what I do, it requires relationship and connection and empathy and sort of understanding and gratitude and grace, right? And we just need to do that more. We need to extend that to each other more and understand that different is not, I'll say, bad, right?
I think that our brains are always in fight or flight mode, right? And so we often just make these sort of, I would say, blanket sort of assumptions about people. We stay in our sort of comfort zone instead of taking the risk and spending time with someone that does not look like us, that does not live in our neighborhood, but yet they sit across from me, or we're on the same team. We do need to take the time out to get to know that person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love the title of my first book is Friendships Don't Just Happen, which, you know, and I think of it's similar in this moment because we can have a diverse workplace and hopefully our leaders and our HR people and stuff are hiring that, but we could be in the most diverse place and it doesn't guarantee that we will build diverse friendships because they don't just happen to us. We have to be intentional and practice. We have to practice positivity, consistency, and vulnerability with people who are different from us in the workplace. And you shared a little bit, some highlights, and we don't have time for, I wish we could do the whole conversation all over, but I think it's online somewhere, but maybe just summarize what jumped out at you last week when we were talking about which of these 3 requirements do you feel like would move us forward the most if we were more thoughtful in building diverse friendships? Which one of these 3 requirements do you think we could focus on that would make the biggest difference?
I'm going to start with consistency. Just showing up, being intentional, put it on the calendar, right?
Yep.
So when I first started working at the company that I'm at now, I met a woman when I first got there. She was and is probably my most unlikely friend. She set up time on the calendar and we meet for an hour every single month. And when I first started meeting with her, I was like, what am I going to talk to her about? She's older than me. She doesn't look like me. She's white. She's been with this company for many years. But I got to tell you, I look forward to that conversation.
Oh,
I look forward
beautiful.
to that. Because we talked about everything other than work.
Yeah.
We talked about dessert, what she was doing with her grandkids, how she was remodeling her home. We had so much fun in that hour.
Oh,
and
that's so good.
The one thing that I realized what made that relationship great for me was she accepted me. I was new to the company and I felt like I belonged because she took the time out. Now she put the time on the calendar.
Yeah.
She got to know me. And so within that hour, it was like we were forced to get to know one another.
Yeah.
I had to come ready to that meeting, or that time of connection, prepared to have a conversation. I had to work on my own sort of skills to sort of connect. And I think that consistency is key, right? Showing up, reaching out, calling, texting, whatever we need to do. And then I think the other piece to kind of lean in is, of course, vulnerability. I think it's
because we need to get to know each other. Yeah,
we need to know one another. We need to ask questions. We need to get curious. We need to have courage with one another. Like, hey, girl, we can move beyond. Hey, girl, where'd you get those shoes?
I love it. I love it. Well, you illustrate it so well because if we don't have consistency, if we don't actually ever interact, we can't get to know each other, which is vulnerability. And then it needs to feel good for us to want to repeat it. So that example you gave is the 2 of you doing those 3 things over and over and over. And that's the only way if there was anything I could kind of like, one thing I could say to everybody is I think the most powerful thing about understanding how relationships are built is that you realize it's not something that it's not just finding the right person. It's not like she was the perfect person for you and that the 2 of you would have picked each other out if we didn't work together and that you were just meant to be best friends. It's that the 2 of you chose to practice these 3 things. And by practicing these 3 things, you can't not bond. And so therefore you're now building a relationship with somebody, which is really beautiful.
She was my biggest cheerleader. Positive. Right? I could go to her, share with her what I was working on, whether it was my birthday. We began to know some things about each other, and I was able to celebrate her. She was able to celebrate me. So when you think about the triangle, it was working. It is working. It is true. I've lived that out, and I think that we have to, especially in this day and age. I think that we should be encouraged, right, to take those steps of courage and step out of our comfort zones, because friendships provide us, especially friendships that are different, they provide us, with another point of view. We can be empathetic. We can learn how to listen to someone else more deeply. We become more self-aware.
Yeah,
Friendships provide us with so much, and we don't really. They give us a different perspective. They help expand our minds. They really do enrich our lives more than more than what we can think of, and which you were alluding to, with the loneliness, right, and not feeling like we belong in the workplace, right? The impact of that, the health benefits alone.
Yeah. And we see the consequence of that for those who are feeling left out in the workplace. We see people of color taking a hit on the stress and the health and all that stuff. And that's something that we could do. We all need to be caring about. This is where I'm like, friendships can change the world.
Yes,
like imagine, it just breaks my heart to see numbers of people, of anybody who's feeling lonely. But when we see people of color saying, and especially when we live in a world right now where we all are having a reconciliation with our systemic racism. And I just think if we all loved and were close to somebody who was different from us, this would be an entirely different conversation. This would be a game changer if we could say this is hurting. And we know racism's hurting white people too. And because we're missing out on so much by not being open and open, inviting, but if we could actually see that it's hurting people we love and know, and it would just be such a different conversation. So I feel like we all need to make a much bigger intentional effort to be building relationships with people who don't look like us. So it's crazy how much we've been trained to think commonality is what bonds, and it is not the case.
Exactly. We could do ourselves better. I like to think of friendships as a part of our self-care, right? And we don't, especially in this age, right? Sheltering in place, being at home, more. We can do. I have had more really great conversations via, I guess, Zoom, with people that did not look like me. Invited them into my home. They get to meet my kids. I get to learn something about them, something that I didn't know. And it has expanded my mind. And really it's also expanded my knowledge about them. Right? They're not just the person that I work with. Now I'm learning more about some deeper things about them and their family, and maybe even their own life experiences and how they're feeling about, the current time. And as a result, there's connection, greater connection. And that for me is exciting. It's exciting to get to know my coworkers that way as well.
Well, Kimberly, I just want to leave you with the biggest blessing and thank you. I just want to leave that your work in diversity and inclusion is so powerful, that you are helping an organization not just get the benefit of diversity, but that you're spending your nights and days thinking about how to include people and leave them feeling belonging is just what a beautiful mission. And I just thank you so much for the good work you're doing in this world. And I promise I won't ask you to be on any more live streams for the next couple of weeks, but thank you so much for coming and inspiring all of us on this topic tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for letting me be your guest and your friend.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it. It's my privilege. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So I'm going to invite Phil and Kristen to come on with me, and I'm going to ask both of you. Hi, you're working so hard behind the scenes. Share with me, what is one thing that jumps out at each of you so far? Like one takeaway or one insight or one thing you've loved.
Wow. Well, I think, Kimberly said a lot of great stuff there. Someone actually posted, I'm going to just steal what somebody said here.
Yeah.
That's really simple here. Show up, reach out, and make the first move. I think the biggest thing for me that I'm learning, right, is that someone has to take initiative, and it's probably going to be me. And I think that's a good thing. That keeps me in control. So I think that's really awesome.
Yep. Love it. Love it. That's a good one. What about you, Kristen?
I'm going to say, the story with Phil and Omar, or Jeff and Omar, sorry. I had just read that chapter last week, and it just struck me that the combination of friendship and work, when it works, it's so beautiful. They talked about reporting to each other at different times and leaving companies, and how it just doesn't matter, right? Like the thing that transcends all is the relationship we have in that. and that positivity. It's so cool to see that play out over the years.
Oh, that's awesome. And I would love to hear, we'll give our next book away to somebody. So share with us.
We're a couple behind, Shasta. We probably got a couple books to give away. So we're at 5. We got 3 more coming up that we're behind. Just so you know.
Okay, well, let's give a lot of books away then. So let's give 3 books away right now to 3 people who share one of their takeaways so far from what you've watched. We've talked about loneliness with Paul. We talked about we've talked with Becky and Maria about their friendship. We've talked with Gary Irwin from COO. We've talked with Sylvia from HR. We've talked with Omar, and we ended here recently with Kimberly. Share with us a takeaway, one little insight you loved. What's an interview you've loved? And we will pick 3 winners from those of you who share some of your insights and some of the things that you love. And I know I'm also behind on dropping words. Our 4th word that we want to drop is diversity, in honor of Kimberly. So just as a reminder, you are collecting words, and there will be 1 more word. So you're collecting 5 words at the end of the night. Everybody who has all 5 words is going to be gifted with all the classes you could possibly want on the friendshipuniversity.com. I've done so many interviews and taught so many classes, and there's $600 worth of classes on there. You will have unlimited access through the end of the calendar year. And if you have missed some of the words, then we are going to leave that up for 72. This broadcast will be up for, that competition will be up for 72 hours. So you can go back and collect the other words. And as long as by Thursday night you put all 5 words in, you will get the code that will give you free access to all of those classes. So the 4th one is diversity. So love some of these takeaways coming in. Why don't we each pick one? Kristen, you pick one. Phil, you pick one, and I'll pick one. And we will call our winners on that. And then we'll go into our 3rd hour, where it's bringing in my friends.
Kristen, you go first.
Okay, I at first wrote down Haley Mears. I think, Phil, you actually put up her comment too. Yep.
Cool.
Perfect. Others are lonely at work. I love that.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to pick Sabrina Webster, friendship planning a date every month. That was an idea that Kimberly gave. And that is such an important one. I hit it so often in my book, is that when we have consistency scheduled in for us, yay! But otherwise, there's no way to build a friendship unless you just schedule in the consistency yourself. So that is such a great one. All right, Phil, which one are you picking?
So I'm going to pick, hold on, where'd that go? Oh, there we go. Here, Angela says, loneliness is very common, but not something we feel comfortable admitting.
Oh,
and yeah, that's the whole vulnerability, right, Shasta? I mean, that's the whole triangle here. So yeah, that's where I said, I got to go first. I mean, that's really important. And if you're a leader, it's even more important, I think, to go first, because the team will never follow you. If they'll never be vulnerable if you're not first. I've led lots of sales teams, and I got to tell you that does not play. Your team thinks you're trying to set them up to fire them if you don't go first. They're not. They really do. So you have to go first. That's my old boss. I taught him how to use Snapchat, so he could put silly filters on his head to congratulate people, because everybody thought that when the boss was coming by, he was coming by to lay the hammer down. It's like, no, stop. That's not it at all. We're here to celebrate you. So trust matters.
Good. It matters so much, and modeling it matters so much, and that's awesome. So good, awesome. Well, good. We have 3 more books away. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome. Bye.
All right. All right. So I'm really looking forward to this last hour. I'm just going to soak it in for 1 second that we're here. Hopefully you've enjoyed. And if you're just now joining us, go back and watch the replay. The first hour was all the things that motivate me around my mission, around loneliness and friendship. The second hour was some of the people who inspire all of us of how we can do this in our workplaces, and really great stories with amazing people. Thank you for being on, each one of you. And thanks for those of you who are staying in here for the last hour. This is the hour where I am bringing in my friends and my husband, the people who inspire me and who have supported me in this book. And so let's first pop up the introduction of these 3 friends. So you're going to see Aisha Matthews Wadwa, and you're going to see Christina Rilo, and you're going to see Kat Gordon. I want you to look at that picture for just a moment before we take that down, because you'll notice that I'm wearing the exact same thing missing in all three of those photos. And that's because these three they're not all friends with each other, but they were all at my 40th birthday. I had a small little party with a small group of friends, and this is where friends start meeting each other. And so they were all at my little birthday party, and it's a privilege that I get to bring them on here tonight together. So I'm going to interview each one of them separately for a moment. And these are people that I'm calling work friends. It's important to know, you can take the picture down and you can bring on, let's bring on Aisha first. And bring that beautiful woman in for me. Hello, sweetheart.
Hello, Shasta. Congratulations. So excited to be here.
I'm having you go first because you're the one I met first out of the three of you. Oh. And so I'm calling all three of these work friends, but it's important to note that I work for myself in my office. And so none of us have ever shared a company, or we have not shared an office. But we are all friends who met because work was our motivation. And so Aisha, I want you to share the story of how we became friends and how work motivated that for you.
Yeah, so we met 11 years ago, and when I launched the San Francisco chapter of a women's networking platform, and we had an event coming up. And I remember Dana Lewis introduced us because you were going to do an icebreaker for us called speed friending.
I still do that.
I had heard of speed dating, but I was so intrigued and maybe a tad skeptical. But of course, always you were stellar. And, the attendees had come in cold. None of them knew each other. And after the speed friending, we could hardly get the room to to stop talking. The energy had really changed. And I remember being blown away because I'd never heard anyone deconstruct and synthesize the science of friendship as brilliantly as you did.
Oh, well, it was such a privilege to meet you. And we'll just mention, Aisha is an amazing designer, brand specialist. And you and I would have never met if it hadn't been like we both decided to join a networking organization, basically. Yeah. And we ended up kind of like, it's one thing to have met each other, but then it was years as we kind of built our own friendship and became friends. And I would be curious to know from you how, I want to share with you how being friends with you has impacted my career. I'd be curious to know how you would feel, how we supported each other's career. What difference has it made?
Yeah, well, I think that, honestly, without even the consistency and connection that we've had over the years, we wouldn't have really built the depth of friendship that we have. I think you're one of the few people who's been both my coach and my friend. And I think that's been incredible because sharing that spectrum of vulnerability wouldn't have been possible without just the friendship that you and I have. And then the women's mastermind group that we started together with Christine Bronstein, it might be about 8 or 10 years ago now. I think that was significant in terms of helping, both of us. I benefited from so much, and as a result, my business at that time, and then since then in my career. And you introduced me to some of my closest friends. Out of the top, I think five or six people that I talk to most of the time, the three of them I met through you. So
that's
as far
amazing.
as I'm concerned, you're the friend whisperer.
Oh, I love that. Well, and you could all go on YouTube. I interview Aisha on a YouTube thing because we started a women's group that we called it 1010 at the time. And it was like we don't want to just do networking where we have to walk into cold rooms and just meet people and hand out business cards. We want to go deeper with a few people where we can support each other's careers. So we invited women we didn't even really know, just women we admired. We kind of brainstormed a list, and we were like, we're looking for amazing women who want to commit to 10 months out of the year to meet us, once a month. And we were going to show up and be cheerleaders for each other. And that really is where I feel like we fell in love with each other. We committed to cheering for each other. We showed up and practiced bragging about our successes and our pride and what we're proud of. And I just have such good memories with you and with our friendship.
Yeah.
And before I go to my next friend, I just want to say to you that from a career perspective, from a personal perspective, I love her and her husband and her son, and we get together all the time with my husband. Well, not all the time. We used to do it way more, and we need to do more frequently of that. But I love you as a personal friend, and as a work friend, I think about how last year when I put out a call saying I'm gathering data for my book,
Yes.
whose company will bring me in, you were like, I will talk to my manager, and you brought me in, and your organization is represented in the data there of what I shared in the book. And one of the ideas that came out of your group the offsite that I facilitated for your team, I just was talking to a podcaster last week who took an idea from the book that came from you that they've already implemented. And so
Wow.
you've been such a benefit to my career and to the way I think about things. I know I sent my book cover to you for feedback on. So I just want to say thank you for being such a work friend and a personal friend.
It's my pleasure. And I can't wait to read the book. I haven't read it yet, but I will.
Yes. You'll get it in the mail this week. Thank you, babe.
for having me.
Oh, my privilege. All right. I want to introduce you to Kat Gordon. This woman I was lucky enough to see at a socially distanced way recently. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, congrats on the book.
Thank you. Kat is the founder of the 3% Conference, which helps bring the point of that was that only 3% of creative directors in advertising were women 10 years ago. And Kat was like, that is not okay. And basically has been a voice for more diversity in advertising, which was of benefit to all of us. And so, Kat, I would love for you to share kind of, it's one thing like we met, but then I want to even focus more on like how we became friends. Like in your version, how do you feel like we became friends?
You know, I was rewinding the tape on that and trying to remember. And I do have this like flashpoint memory of you speaking at our little professional mastermind. And I even remember like you were sitting by the fireplace and like you had the short hair at the time. Like I have this vision of you. And that kind of like feeling in my soul of like, I need this person in my life. Like literally seeing you as an energy and a person I wanted to move closer. Not just someone that I admire professionally, but like there's just goodness there. And then I remember like you and I both were always up for adventure, and like we went to the TED Women conference together.
Yes.
Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Yes. Oh, totally.
Yeah. And we had to, commute down there together, and we shared a hotel. And I remember we were getting dressed the next morning to go to the conference. And I realized I had forgotten, like I had this beautiful sweater and these pants, but I'd forgotten like the blouse to go under it. And so I had to wear like my pajama top. Do you remember that? It was like
I don't remember that.
It was like a black camisole. And I was like, I guess I'm just gonna have to wear this. And it was kind of like a crisis. And you were like, you look smoking. And like, I was like, so it's just like an early indicator that you were up for adventure, that we had similar interests, and that you were someone that was going to rescue me from my own foibles.
I wear pajamas all the time. That's my daily outfit. So you were good there.
This is pre-COVID where people didn't wear their.
Oh, Kat, I love that. Yeah, again, I feel like it's so interesting to look back on relationships and see kind of like our consistency. We would have not become friends if we hadn't seen each other regularly at a mastermind group. And then you and I were in another group. Like we ended up being a part of a virtual mastermind with Nikki and Patty around, kind of a more national one. And then I remember, I agree with you. I feel like when we went from being work friends to like friends was when we also shared an apartment in New York City for a conference. We kind of started doing some conferences together. Yeah, I feel like it's when we started doing conferences.
Do you remember us running in the rain? Like,
oh yeah, those shoes were toast after that.
But it was like one of those days where kind of like the pajama top, like where things don't go to plan. We couldn't hail a cab. We had to get up to Midtown. We were on the Lower East Side. So we like ran for the subway, and it was raining. And it was just one of those fun memories where I was like, you know what? It's all going to be okay because I'm with Shasta and we're laughing.
Oh, I love that. And I love that now it's very similar to like Aisha. It's really interesting how it's like a work structure that we end up being work kind of networking people. And then something kind of shifts where it's like you take our relationship kind of goes beyond that and we start doing personal stuff together. And for us, it was spending bigger chunks of time at conferences and being roommates and that kind of stuff. And then there comes a time where it's like, I don't even think of you as a work friend. It's just like, now we're just getting together hiking and we may or may not talk about work, but it's like, I just love that our friendship we still like support each other's work lives and careers. And you just recently hired me to come speak at the 3% conference. So it just is a great illustration of how everything we get in life is because of who we know and the amazing people we know and stuff.
So true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I also remember one of the first times that we got together outside of like a work thing, you suggested we meet at like this tea room in Chinatown in San Francisco that like was something like I'd never done, and it was like really cozy, and you knew it, and it was just like different, you know. It wasn't like let's go to Starbucks, you know. It was like let's seek out something different. And I remember thinking, oh, she's got like, you always brought a little extra magic to whatever time.
Oh, well, I adore you. Adore you, adore you, adore you. And so thank you for popping on tonight and being one of my work friends who has just been such a supporter through my whole book process and helping me continue to think things, ideas and titles and covers and all kinds of stuff through. Thanks for being somebody that supported me in all of that.
My pleasure.
Oh, thank you, babe. And I want to introduce you to my third friend that I wanted to highlight tonight in this segment. And this is Christine Arilo. Christine Arilo, darling, beautiful woman. Hello, thank you for joining me. I know
the sun is setting on the Puget Sound right now, so it's beaming in.
Beautiful. You look gorgeous, and the lighting looks perfect on you. I notice as the live cast is going, or the live stream, I notice the lighting in my room is getting brighter and messed up. You look lovely. So I just wanted to share that Christine and I, again, it's so interesting because it's one thing we met under your husband introduced us. Go Noah.
He did.
And you and I could have and did kind of see each other as competitors, or could have seen each other more as that, and been a little threatened by each other and felt like we were kind of in each other's space a tiny bit. But we ended up staying in touch and being a part of a more regular process. And we've been a part of several different groups together that gave us a lot of consistency, at which point we then ended up becoming friends. Like, I don't think we would if we didn't have something that kind of held us together, a structure. Again, it's a great example. We probably wouldn't have just become friends on our own. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because my partner Noah you're one of 3 friends he has found for me. So it's remember the day he came home, which, by the way, I've read the book and so I'm just saying, I got it right here. It's been sitting on my. Shasta and I we've been writing together too the last.
That's what years. I want to get to. Yes,
we're being like book babies together, so it feels extra special. Thinking about friends and work and how our relationship has evolved from the day that Noah came home, which I remember the day I first met you in San Francisco, and we got together to kind of sniff each other out, like, who is she? And, and we were talking the other day.
Who does she think she is?
We were joking. We're like, I think there were 4 people at that wine that day, because there were Shasta was there and I was there, and then we joke our inner mean girls were there, comparing ourselves to each other, and I think and they're still there. They still show up, even a decade later. But I think the difference is that we actually tell each other about it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I want to. That's
right now. My comparison queen could be like, look at what Shasta's doing. She's on Facebook Live. She's doing these amazing things. And like, what are you doing today, Christine? But it's like, I'm like, just so happy for you to see this. I've just watched you through this whole process, and it just is so, like, my heart is so happy. I woke up today and I just felt so happy for you to see you. You've worked. Is like so devoted to this, and I'm gonna get like tears in my eyes because I'm just like so happy for you.
Wow, thank you. And that's one of the things I love about our friendship that I'm glad you presenced, because our friendship, I judged you when I first met you and was just like, I don't know, and I felt very threatened by you. You had like the publicity packet and all kinds of stuff, and I think we both have talked about how we've compared ourselves to each other. And so Christine and I, we were part of groups and stuff like that. And we're just good friends now. We do have a monthly date where we get together on the phone every single month for about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And we talk through like, what can we help each other on in our businesses? What can we do to like help each other be? And what I love about it, Christine, well, so many things. One is I love that the premise is that we want both of us to be successful, which we define as being like the most we are capable of being, like our biggest, best, brightest, purest selves. And so it's like we show up and we don't let each other kind of undermine ourselves. Like the whole premise is, what can I do to help you be better? And it comes with this like really beautiful, and we like get into each other's, like help each other and support each other, give ideas to each other. there's places where you have been ahead of me and you've given me resources and vice versa. And then it was such a joy this last year. We were writing books at the same time. And so, yeah, we've been going through this process together. Tell us about your book. You're coming out in October.
I'm 7 weeks behind you, so I'm still pregnant, I guess. But my book, Overwhelmed and Over It, is coming out in October. And they're so connected, right? I mean, so much of the burnout and the overwhelm comes because we don't have support. And there's a whole, like, that's a huge piece. And I see it both I see it for all people. I see it for women. I see it in Noah, and we were just talking about this morning for him, how he just doesn't have the community that he desires. And so I think, I don't know, I lost my train of thought because I'm just so excited to be here because I can't believe it's actually the book's birthday. Yeah. So what was the question?
I wanted to share what your book title was. You're perfect.
I remember being at your last book party, and I remember the toast he gave, and Aisha, and I was actually in the 2020 with you. Oh, I know what you asked about. I remember it was 2015, and I think I invited you to say, hey, Shasta, what if we met once a month? And we just met, we call it a Femimind. And the thing and you said yes. And so we've been doing that. So I had to put the invitation out there. It was a little vulnerable for me, you all, because my relationships with blonde women have not traditionally always gone very well. But Shasta,
I'm getting darker during COVID, if that helps.
Well, you've always been a source of light. And I think part of the thing of why is that in those Femiminds, it's not just about we're there to like celebrate each other, which is true, but we're also able to be really real with each other. And some days we do show up and we're like, I just need to go, wah, and I have to just be real with the struggle. And I think that's a piece that's really important in friendships that are real and meaningful, is that person, and you sure do this for me, you can hold them in their amazingness without it like undermining who you are, and use it as a way to inspire you. But you can also hold them when they're in their like down places, when we have doubt, or when, you and I are like, does this really matter? Like, we're working, giving so much, like all of that stuff that comes up. And it's like, you don't stay stuck there, but there's like a way we hold each other and that full spectrum that I think is really powerful and different, without having to help each other or make it better. Like, we're not here to fix each other.
Yep. Now we each get to bring what's one thing that we want the other person's feedback on or help in, but it's there to just kind of support each other. And it's been so validating, and it is such a vulnerable place to be with you. And I'm so grateful. You're somebody who holds all of that so well. I get off every phone call with you and usually go for a walk with Greg afterwards. And almost every time I'm just like, and then she helped me see this in my life, or then she said this, and it just was like, oh my goodness, is that true? And like, you just call out the very best of me. And I'm so, 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 so grateful. And I can't wait for your book to come out and we can take pictures together of our books.
That sounds good. It's a date.
That's awesome. Well, Phil, if you wouldn't mind bringing all three of those girls back on the screen at the same time, I want to take a picture. Somebody take a screenshot. Is Kat still on? Yep. And so these are 3 examples of women who have been amazing supporters of mine in my work, who I'm a better person because of them. And I love each one of them just without even work. Like, you could all quit your jobs and I still want to be your friends and still be connected to all of you. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shasta. Happy birthday.
Happy book, baby.
Oh, thank you. And if you want, you can stick around for the very end for the toast. I would love to have you back on at the very end, but understand if you've got to go too. So I hope you enjoyed seeing those 3. Oh, and Deneen, she's one of my other really, really good friends. I'm glad her comment came up there. She's another amazing friend of mine. And so that's awesome that you get to see her and that sweet, beautiful woman. Thank you, Deneen. So all 3 of those are women that I did practice consistency. You kept hearing me say, like, it was part of a decision to like be a part of consistency. I would have not become friends with them, not because they weren't amazing women or because I wasn't capable of it or all those things. It was that we had to make a commitment to show up in the same place consistently, which allowed us to then be vulnerable and get to know each other, which then ended up helping us support each other. And so I hope those were inspirational examples for those of us who work from home right now, whose company might not be be conducive to helping build relationships. Those are examples of groups that one of us started, we initiated, we put that into place. We reached out, extended invitations, and set up that consistency. And I really would say that one of my favorite examples of how you can build consistency in some other like work friends would be using the discussion guides that I wrote up for the business of friendship. I wrote up one that's meant for you to kind of the traditional book club where it's like, here's this one time you can get together and talk about the book, which is awesome. And I don't mean to give a stink eye to that, but my favorite book guide is the one where I wrote it up for 4 times together, because I figure if I can get you together talking about portions of the book 4 times, we're building consistency and giving you more time together. And so those book guides are at thebusinessoffriendship.com. For everybody who pre-orders the book, you can have access to those guides, and you could set up your own virtual or in-person book club where it gives you a chance to basically not only build deeper friendships with some people, but you're kind of training them how to be a good friend too. And you're talking about friendships and getting to know each other, which is so beautiful and so important. So hopefully that will be a resource that you can use that will help you create an Aisha, Kat, or Christine in your own life. So love those women. All right. We have come to the time where if you have read my books or follow me on Instagram, you will know them as the SoCal Girls. And these women are going to come in, and we've decided we are going to, they decided, I should clarify, that they are going to be quizzed by my husband about me. I'm a little nervous. So you're going to see Krista, Jaylene, Valerie, and Karen. And these women we've been friends there's some discrepancy among us, between 16 and 18 years. We don't always know the answer to that. And then in a moment, they're going to come on and be quizzed by my husband as to who knows me best. But before that, Phil is going to come on and announce another winner and give us our 5th word. And I will see you back in a moment where you will get to meet my SoCal Girls group.
Woohoo! Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Shasta. So cool. Yeah, lots of awesome stuff happening. Hopefully you've been playing along here. First, let me give you the 5th word. If this surprises anybody, I'm kind of disappointed, because this word is friendship, right? So hopefully you got all 5 words there. I can't tell you what they were. I wish I could, but go back, watch the live stream, check out all the words, play along, and you win some great stuff from Shasta, $600 worth of courses, which is absolutely fantastic. So I've got a copy of the book, and it's really awesome for me. Working from home, it's a reminder to be intentional with those that I want to work with, whether I'm physically with them or not. It's important to be intentional. So I'm going to pick a winner of all of our comments. And someone asked, what are the 4th and 5th? You have to go back and you have to watch a little bit. So maybe you run half an hour or so. You'll get a bunch of those with that. And I am going to make my winner Chris Moss. Chris says that her takeaway is that loneliness just means we have more capacity for love. I really like that, Chris. That's really powerful about loneliness and about a lot of stuff and about the business of friendship. So I encourage you, if you don't yet have your copy, I really wonder what the heck you're waiting for, right? Because you got a lot of great stuff with it. I pre-ordered mine like the day it came out. As a guy who sometimes is challenged with friendship at work, was really helpful for me. The bonuses are great. And the cool thing is you get till tomorrow to pre-order, because the books go out tomorrow. So if you ordered it today, you'll get it mailed out tomorrow. If you have Amazon Prime, you'll probably get it just a couple days. So that's super duper exciting. And look who's with us now. Hey, Greg, what's up, man?
Hey, Phil, you are the rock star, man.
Oh, I'm just behind the scenes, man. I'm glad to be with the both of you. This is super fun. So we got more people to come on. So are you ready, Shasta, for Who Knows Shasta Best?
Yes. Are you ready to keep score for us, Phil?
Keeping score. All right. So let's see. Ring, ring. I didn't bring my school bell, ding, ding. So we'll just have to pretend it'll be a virtual one like that. So very, very cool. So I'm going to bring folks on one at a time here. I'm going to go in the background here, and Greg or Shasta, you can introduce them as they come on. So here we go. Just a sec.
This is my husband, Greg, by the way. I'll say more about him later, but the book is dedicated in part to him, and this is a good man that my girlfriends love. And so they said, why don't we have Greg come on and quiz us? So these are we call ourselves the Southern Cal Girls, and we've come up with a new name, which is based on birds that we all are, spirit birds, animal birds. So now we're a flock. But these are some of the most nearest and dearest and closest intimate of friends. I've been friends with them for 16, 17 years. We get together every year for a girls' trip, no matter where we all live at any given time. We've had babies together and divorces and all kinds of stuff we've gone through together. And so this is a really special moment for me to have them join me. So Valerie and Krista and Jaylene. Welcome. You all look so beautiful. You all look like you got dolled up a little more than you did for.
I've seen a few.
Yes. Mr. Blake, you girls ready for this?
Love this.
Huh?
Well, I just want to say at the beginning, you know, I can honestly say that every one of Shasta's girlfriends, those that you see on this screen and the others that have been introduced and those that have not yet been introduced, I actually love all of them very deeply. And I'm not sure every spouse can say that about their spouse's friends or girlfriends, but man, I can say it genuinely. So I just want you ladies here to know that how much I value you, and my love for Shasta deepens because I know she is so well supported by so many women. And you are 4 of those really important things. So thank you. And I think we'll have a little.
He says that right before he gives you questions.
Right.
Let's get to the game. Come on. Time is running out, and I need to win.
Play the game.
There's no failing here. However, we have to go with the point system. I just want to point that out. So whoever gets the most points at the end, obviously, will be the one who we just all cheer. And
you can pick where you go to girls group next year.
Oh, I like that concept.
All right, give us our.
Hopefully, it's not in our own homes.
Exactly.
So we'll start kind of back in the earlier days. So the first couple of questions, this will be fun though. Here's the first question, it's worth 2 points. Are you ready for this? 2 points. During college, which student office did Shasta run for and win several years in a row? Which student office?
Oh, I think I know this.
Run for and win several years in a row during college.
To be fair, they didn't all know that. So.
Well, yeah, that's what I figured. I think that would be a good one.
All right, so they're holding up the piece of paper when they're ready.
Okay, are we ready?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait, ready?
Okay, Jaylene's going first. I saw her paper plate.
Okay, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies.
Karen and Val, are your papers up? You
Okay,
ready?
she's got it.
No, I thought he was going to call us out.
Oh, but you have to hold it up backwards so we see that you're ready.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Karen, just right, Karen. No, you go ahead, Karen. Put yours back. Yeah. Why? Okay, no, we go to now we go to Val. Okay, there it is. And Krista.
All right.
Says
Class
president. Well,
Oh.
for SA president, is that right?
That is correct. I was
2 points. 2 points.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Val experienced it. I only heard the story.
She was a great president.
That's good. All right. Here's another one. 2 points. During her university years, what career did she most see herself heading toward post-university? What career?
Hard. These are really hard.
Specific role. Well, just give the rest of us who are watching this thing some idea of who that is.
This is all geared toward Val winning, and I am envious.
I don't think I know this one. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay, let's.
I have to answer the question before they flip it over.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
No, some people can change it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. See.
Well, so you think I shouldn't answer the question?
You can do whatever you want, Shasta. This is your show. As long as I win.
I was wanting to be a war correspondent. I wanted to be on TV where the action was over there telling everybody what was going on. So
I failed.
to see what you thought I wanted to do.
Okay.
Does this count? Does it count?
Broadcaster.
That's very close. Yes.
Very close. Everybody else turn it around.
Broadcaster.
But I said TV news.
I think that deserves at least 1 point.
Well, she did go there, and some consider both of those to be actually the same thing. The war correspondent and the pastor. It could be. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And then,
Can we just clarify if Phil should give me 2 points for this?
Yeah. I would say, Damien, if you had said war news broadcaster, you could have gotten an extra 2 points. But
And I will just say that TV news broadcasters do cover the war. Just going to throw it out there. No pressure, Phil.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Okay.
Like the rules really clear.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
or
like
how
that.
to points after.
I thought you might enjoy that. Okay.
Don't worry. I'm keeping score.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right, here we go. Now, this is number 3. 3 points, ladies. 3 points. And you would expect I would need to now have this question. All of you have gone through the Clifton Strengths assessment. What is Shasta's number 1 strength in the Clifton Strengths or Strengths Finder assessment? The number 1 strength.
Man, you came out hitting hard.
Well,
You started with the hard ones.
I know the one that Greg doesn't like. Does that count?
Oh, no, I like them all. I like the superpowers. Okay.
Oh, man.
So
Okay.
it's important so we've all been through the Strengths Finder assessment, but naming each other's strengths, most of us don't even remember.
Yeah, I think we should name the most that she has.
Well, that's why I put this at 3 points. Because if you get it, man, you're worthy of the 3.
Who
All right.
decided that you should make up the questions? That's what I want to know.
Okay, your first response and last response.
Dude, look at people are guessing. Sylvia's guessing.
Val, you put your
me. Strategic.
Okay, very well put. Very well put.
Ooh.
Positivity. Well, she uses that one a lot. Karen? Communication. That is another one of hers. That's true. And Jaylee?
The one you don't like.
Oh, I love that one. Positivity. And Val is correct. It is strategic is her number 1. We both did that.
Yes.
I'm strategic, activator, positivity,
Activator.
and what did I not name? Maximizer.
Maximizer.
Yeah.
Number
So you
1,
all,
2.
and then Karen, I've got communication right up there, like number 7 or 8. So you all named my strengths.
Yay.
Okay. I think this will be a fun one. Which one of the following would Shasta most crave for a snack?
Now we're getting in the good stuff.
Number 1, dark chocolate. Number 2, lemon meringue pie. Number 3, nachos. Number 4, cheese. Number 5, Brussels sprouts.
Wow.
Wait, there's too many in there. She wants
Can
it
I
all.
put number 6, Greg?
This is a trick question. It should be a multiple choice.
I said most craved. That's
most craved.
That's the word, most craved.
It's just not fair. You know what? If I can't win, it's not fair.
You gave me the question, and that was your number 1.
Well, I didn't give you those choices. Those are hard ones. You named all kinds of things I like.
Okay.
Should I say what I would say?
Sure. Yeah.
I would go with all of those. Cheese.
Jeez. All right, Karen, you start first here. What do you say? Nachos.
Oh, gotta stick with your first choice.
That was a tough one because nachos have cheese on them.
It's true.
Fair.
It's a bit tricky because I'm nachos. Yeah.
That was a trick question, Greg.
The meal or the snack? I get it.
Okay, let's go to Jaylene.
Okay.
She was eager to share.
And Krista?
I love
cheese. I showed Marco Polo of me making mouth. It's very confusing. Oh, there we go.
2.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we need to remind Phil how many points this one
Valerie,
is
you
worth?
shared plenty
This
of
was
cheese.
worth 1 point.
Yes.
And I do want to
Got
point
that,
out,
Phil?
girlfriend Deneen in the comments got it, and other people are guessing and got me with cheese. So I
Oh,
must
man,
have a
other people are
reputation.
doing it. Okay.
You almost gave it up, Shasta. Remember that? It was going to make me very sad.
That 1 month I was trying being vegan.
Yes, it was very sad for me.
Bill, you're making my evening.
Go, Phil. We love you, Phil. Well, it's an interesting
Okay,
one.
one more question.
Oh, one. Oh, okay.
Last
Well,
one.
in that
You
case,
can go on.
We can stop now.
yes, I could, but I had about 2 questions here. I hope you don't mind, but no. Okay, so we go to the final one. All right. Well, let's give this shot to everybody here. This ought to be easy. It's the last question. What does Shasta's thumb ring symbolize? This is for 3 points. What does Shasta's thumb ring symbolize? Is it hard?
No, it is not.
Like what I was complaining about last week, like the biggest crises of my life, but like these are hard.
Right, yeah. This is more trivia, although this might not be trivia.
Jaylene called Greg ahead of time. I love Phil.
Shoot, Jaylene, it's not a dissertation.
Oh, is it mine?
Researching for weeks.
Okay, no. Okay, is it my turn? Is that what you're saying? Okay,
exactly.
Okay, are we ready? Okay.
Hang on. Okay, well,
shucks. Let's start with Krista.
Okay,
Okay, here we go. Krista,
Self-care.
self-care. Okay, beautiful point. Valerie,
Independence.
Wow, I can vouch for that. Yes.
That's not right.
Commitment to spiritual journey, never alone.
Wow, boy, those are powerful.
And I'm independence.
And Jaylene.
it symbolizes her commitment to God. She purchased the ring initially in Guatemala, but then it was lost. So she purchased another one with a diamond, but then that one was lost, but then she found it.
Jaylene and Karen. So my thumb ring, it happened after my divorce. Yes, I was in Guatemala, and I finally took my wedding ring off at the time. And every time I would feel where my wedding ring used to be, I would feel sad, like I had failed and I was alone. And so I ended up buying a ring that was like God telling me that I was worthy and lovable and never alone. And so every time I touched it, or every time I touched the empty finger, I would then go to this finger and be like, I'm okay. I'm loved. I don't need a man to love me to be okay. So yep, that is my God ring telling me I have my value and my love. But
that was a good.
Mallory, that is the ring on the other hand, which is my relationship to myself and to showing up.
Right.
So you were close.
Well,
just make sure that Phil knows she confused the rings.
Exactly.
Do we have Phil? Were you keeping track by any chance?
So yeah, I kept track. I have Jaylene cheating, and the other. Oh, I'm sorry. You said I made your evening. That's my girlfriend won't like that, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm teasing, of course. And so I would say Jaylene wins for humor, but you're all winners because you're all friends.
Who got the most points?
I stopped counting after 30, Jaylene. I just want you to know. So. And if you corrected Shasta on one of the answers, I can't really say. So I think that immediately disqualifies you. I'm just saying. So
I can't help
but
it. But
very funny, ladies. That was really funny. Great job, Greg, hosting that. That was great, man.
Yeah.
All right. All you ladies, hang on for just 1 second. I just have to do a little bit of final goodbyes, and then you're all going to come back on and do a final toast here as we wrap up. So, game, you were good sports, and you brought right back on. And just all right. So we are nearing the end of our time together. I just want to say thank you for all of you so much for how you've shown up in so many ways. I had an incredible launch team of people who took part of their summer to just champion somebody else and their work, and that meant so much. For all of you, all of you came on and participated tonight. If you're just tuning in for the last hour, You can go back and rewatch, and you'll have 72 hours to put the 5 words in. And Phil will drop that link in the chat again where you can go and put those 5 words in, and Phil will give you the discount code or the free code to get access to all of the classes. So you'll just want to go into those 5 words from that place. And I never gave you a chance to get free book plates. Oh my word. I've just been like going crazy. We'll do that now. So let's put that in there, Phil. So that if you want to go put your name in there and tell me who you want me to sign the book to and where I can mail it to, I will mail you a nameplate, and I will go ahead and keep that open for another day or two. For anybody who was joining us earlier and didn't get a chance to do that tonight, we'll make sure that we get those nameplates, customize the signatures inside of your book for you if you want that. And let's give away one more book. Please share with me, if those of you who are here, share with me what is one way that you were inspired tonight. Just share with me a little bit of the inspiration you got. It could be from something specific or just kind of the whole thing. To share with us something that inspired you, and we will give away one more book before we end.
And Shasta, can you pop your earbuds back in so we can better hear you as you wrap up tonight?
Okay, can you hear me better? Okay, good. So just making sure that you have in the link, where you can get your 5 words. You have a link for where you can get a free nameplate. And anybody who's giving inspiration, sharing what inspired you tonight, Kristen will pick one more winner that we will send a free book to. And I just want to do some final thanks and some final appreciation to all of the guests who came on, who took time out of their evening to join me. Their stories matter so much to me, and their opportunity to come in and be champions for better friendships in the workplace, their presence and their stories and their interviews and their statistics fills the book, but made tonight super special too. So big thanks to all of them. And I would love to have Kristen and Phil pop in one more time, not only to announce the last winner that we want to give away, but also want to just show the two of you as really big people that I want to thank. I could not have done tonight. I barely did tonight. I barely remembered all the things I was supposed to do, and I could not have done even that if you two weren't behind the scenes helping with everything in every possible way. So please, both of you, drop your links into the chat. Kristen is an amazing career coach and just an amazing advisor. She comes from an HR background. She's got her website and her programs and her groups that I want you to know that she is such an advocate. She believes in the work of this book and wants to help you find a job and work where you are actually feeling like you've got the friendships that matter and are happy and satisfied. And Phil is a sales trainer and a sales coach, sales speaker. He just does such amazing stuff. He's doing LinkedIn Lives all the time. That's how I found out he does this, because he interviewed me on one last week and I saw how he did it. And I was like, come help me, please. And he is an amazing speaker. I met him through National Speakers Association. And as you can just get a feel of his energy. He is on fire and he's vibrant and positive and amazing. So if you're looking for an inspiring speaker, he's definitely your person. But either of you want to say any final farewell? I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for leaving me feeling supported tonight.
Oh, loved it, Shasta. So fun. Just thank you to everyone for supporting this book. We're so excited. You really brought it to life tonight, Shasta. Great job. You were juggling several things at the same time. I don't know how you did it. It was
thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Holy cow. Yeah. You juggled a lot, Shasta. You had amazing guests. You have great friends. It's a testament to you and your strength of friendship that you're able to bring all this together. 3 hours honestly felt like about 15 minutes. Holy cow.
Yeah. It went fast. I thought we were going to have like filler time or something, but I was like, it went super fast. Kristen, who should we give this final book to? How many books have we given away? Do we need to give away more than one?
This is 10.
Okay. So let's give away give away 11. So let's give away 2. Let's end on a high note. So let's give away 2. Pick 2 people for us.
Okay, Colleen Braun, there you are, and Janice Litvin, is that right? There you are. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep, we're in the
Very
West.
good.
Okay.
That's awesome. Very good. Colleen is a friendship champion. She owns health clubs, and she is somebody who's is always championing being friends with her employees, and is such a powerhouse and such a cheerleader, and practices these 3 things. And Janice, part of the National Speakers Association family. So happy, and it's awesome to have supportive people in our careers showing up in this space. So huge thanks to both of you. Awesome. Well, I just want to, I'll bring you, Phil and Kristen, back in just one moment as we do the final toast, but I want to bring my husband back on. So that means, unfortunately, that I'm going to have to change my my audio one more time. I'm so sorry. If we'll try to talk loud. All right, Mr. Nelson. This man is somebody who listened to me talk about this book on walks every single day. He is my favorite coworker. We work in the same office. Our computers are right across from each other, and that's why he's joining me on mine, is that besides the fact that we like to be close to each other, it would have been hard for us to not pick up each other's echo if we had him on a different screen. And he is a strengths coach, and he models what I teach. I teach how to do friendship, and he actually goes in with teams and helps them bond their teams around their strengths. And so he practices positivity, consistency, and vulnerability with teams and organizations all around the world, actually helping bond their teams and help them get to know each other around really, really beautiful, inspiring stories, and with using their best places. So it's beautiful. But I want to end tonight by just saying thank you. I dedicated the book in part to him, because we work together every day and love each other so much. And a couple years ago, we were walking around jealous of all the Christmas parties, all the office Christmas parties. Mm-hmm. And we were like, they're so lucky they get to like have an office Christmas party. And we were kind of bemoaning how we didn't get to do that since we're solopreneurs. And then one day we were just like, we'll have our own office Christmas party. And so was it been 3 years now?
Yeah.
3 years we've been having an office Christmas party. We go out, we get all dressed up, and we have our own office Christmas party. So this guy is my favorite colleague and coworker, and I just want to say thank you for supporting this book and helping make it happen.
I am so proud of you, Chaz. This woman has done more for me, for my mind, my heart, my body, my soul. And to watch her go through this process 3 times now is not nothing. I mean, those of you who've written books know the process. And as an author myself several times, boy, I know the work, the blood, sweat, and tears, as we say. And yet, what keeps Shasta going, and this is one of the things I really want to toast with her tonight, what keeps her going is this crystal clear vision of what her mission is. And it's always been about social connection, healthy social connections. Ever since the first time I met her, I met her about almost 20 years ago now. That I was impressed at that time about the vision, the energy, the enthusiasm for her mission and vision, and that enthusiasm has not waned. And this book, this book is another evidence of that, Chaz. It's an undying passion to change the world. You are by nature an influencer. You ran for student assembly president multiple times and won. Starting, I think, when you were a freshman that year. I mean, what freshman ever gets SA president? And Shasta did. So she's been.
It's because there were no women running, and I felt like a woman needed to run. So there you go.
Very powerful, very powerful. So she's been a leader and continues to be a leader. And the way she's leading in this lane is a reflection of what she is called to do, is a reflection of the highest level of authentic expression of herself is being evidenced by this this mission that she has. And I tell you what, when I work with people, that's the first thing I ask, help them discover is what is your most authentic expression of you and how do you want to express that in the world? This woman is doing it, and I am so proud of you. I'm so excited for this new book coming out. It's going to change the world. Listening to all these people you've interacted with tonight, it is already changing the workplace.
They were amazing.
Yeah. So I'm honored to be in your life and to have you in my life. Is this the toast?
This is the end.
This is, okay. If you want to toast with me.
And bring all my girlfriends,
Yeah,
Will and Kristen, bring them all back. Oh, this makes me so happy. We could be together.
Okay, here we go. Come this way. Okay, I'm gonna hold this up right here. Okay. I'll put my hand on this hard copy. Okay, sorry, this is more visual. I put my hand on this in an act of blessing. A blessing is not conferring something on someone that they don't already have. A blessing is acknowledging the inherent goodness and value of what is with that person or thing. My hand of blessing on this book is a way to say, the Business of Friendship book, I call out your goodness that is already in this book and these pages, and we've heard people who've already been changed from it. And I say, we launch you now into the world so that this goodness will change lives, will transform workplaces all over the world, and will make a difference in a profound and meaningful way. And I know that's what Shasta wants. And I'm saying the same thing to you, that your goodness that has been evident ever since I've known you will continue to be manifested in the world. So I toast to the book and to Shasta.
You're here.
Cheers.
Love you so much.
Congrats.
Cheers. And thank you so much to all of you who joined in. Girlfriends, thank you. Thank you, Phil and Kristen again. To all a good night. Go watch the Democratic National Convention and go to November.